What?
You know, it's part of the problem when we say what else are we going to talk about if not Trump? Because like you figure the media must be having the same sort of thought, right? What what do we talk about if not that? And then they fucking end up talking about it over and over again. It's why he's the fucking president.
He's like the lulz cow of the century. No matter what he says, it just like reverberates around the world, no matter where you are, unless you're in some isolated like town in Georgia where you're like where there's no internet or phone.
So I make art instead of going on and on about whatever the fuck he's doing.
Oh, I should probably like go to your channel so I can look at whichever degenerates come to watch you. 1 second.
Well, they can see by my camera work that I'm not exactly set up yet. So I'm kind of showing some behind the scenes, like me setting up. So
well,
that
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
First, I want to get this mat kind of more squared on my slab, so that I don't get pores going over the side. I'm going to flatten the mat a little bit.
Here's a question for you.
What's up?
Have you ever used a canvas 3 times?
3 times? I could today. I could, but as far as 3 times, I wouldn't know because I don't keep track of how many times I've used them. And it's always about the picture that's on there in the moment.
Oh shit!
You know, it really is. It's more about like what do I see right then, not like how many. I don't keep like a little tick mark on the back. You know.
Quick question: is Shepard Bruce?
Could be.
It looks like his old logo. It might be him. I'm just curious because he's what? No cake while we wait. What a jip. That's racist. Trump is the greatest troll in history. Okay. I think it's too short to be Bruce. Sorry, if it is, I'm sorry.
Not long-winded enough.
1 second. Yeah, not long-winded enough. 1 sec.
Okay. So I don't see the chat yet, but I'm setting up to see the chat. Some people do this with software, but because of what I'm doing, it's easier to do it with hardware. And a separate screen all the way across the fucking room. I'm gonna plug this in.
Oh, it is Bruce Shepard. Hello. The last time I talked to your wife, she forgot who I was. So I guess that's true. I guess it's ignorant or something. I can't remember. There's no saying gypsy's a bad idea.
Not to be too suggestive, but I don't think Bruce's wife will ever forget who I am.
No shit. Like I think I was watching like what's that Tuesday thing? Tuesday. Oh fuck, what's it called? JD. What the fuck do you call it? Tuesday something. Tuesday. Talking Shit Tuesday. I was watching Talking Shit Tuesday, and I was like, hey, that's Sabella, and I said hi, and she's like, I don't know who you are. I was like, that's probably fair because I've been gone for like 3 years.
Now I got to find my own stream, which is very awkward for me to do. Okay.
Hello, Quintica. Oh, as a note, people who aren't aware, 13 just released 2 volumes of his Pathways to Midgard book on Amazon for those who want to read sci-fi. Hello?
Shepard's there. Yeah, I can see the chat. Can you?
Yep.
No.
Live chat. Hey.
I'm going to trust you guys for a second as I go downstairs and get something.
Okay, well, let's
here.
Do our best to get to Agent of Doubt a community guidelines.
Look at my last painting. Some people say that there's a parrot in there. Some people say that there's a penis. But I know it's a penis.
It looks like a whale.
Okay, well, try to find shapes in that. I'll be right back.
Okay, pareidolia. You can see the screaming man if you really squint.
Bubbles.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Pair of doilies.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, you can see a dinosaur. If you look in the right side, you can see his leg and its long neck, and then giant stomach and its tail. That blue thing. I love pair of doilies.
Right.
Yeah, the flow art is interesting. Oh, that might be a crow.
I'll take your word for it.
Oh yeah, Mike's not here. I was gonna say, how much does this one cost? Let's see. The parrot with a huge penis. It's strange because parrots don't have penises. Okay. Okie dokie.
This is Mike's world. Anything can happen.
Yeah. It's weird because I'll go to any other like hangout in the Great Debate, and it's a lot of really similar shit. And I come to Mike's hangouts, and they're just like, it's like old school, like first years of the hangout where Brian was running them. We're just like anything can happen because we don't necessarily know what's going to happen. I miss the Friday fails.
I didn't take part in a lot of the hangouts and debates because a lot of it was just repeating the same old crap, and everybody was sort of in the debate sort of to prove a point and to get their point made, and not there to listen to anybody else and actually debate.
Yeah, and that's mostly what happens now on a lot, and a lot of it is proven by Agent of Doubt's cycle, or the cycles of the Great Debate, which is, I'm here, I'm new, I don't know what it is, but I'm going to argue for this really simple thing. And most of the time, I was around just to socialize. I really didn't care about the debate. But it cycles through every year. Bionic Dance is proof of that. Welcome back. We didn't give you any community guideline strikes while you were gone.
All right, I'm back. I'm in password hell right now. Yeah, what happened was, my spare phone right there that I wanted to connect just for looking at the chat, it's not connected to the internet. Misty changed the password. I changed the password on a couple things when she first did it, and I don't remember that password. And you can't just go to something that you've changed the password on and say, hey, tell me the password that I used to get onto this. It doesn't even work that way.
You can. You just got to know the secret source for any particular device. And be aware that your tappings on the screen are visible on the camera. So if you're tapping in any passwords.
I'm not. I'm just going with the flow here. I'll fix that later. Gotta find myself.
Just as a secondary notice, people who didn't know that 13 just put out his book series, or 2 volumes of his book. I'm going to post this here. If it works. Probably won't. That didn't work. Go to Amazon, look for Tea Matters. Never mind. Just as a secondary notice, people who didn't know that 13 just put out his book series.
Yeah, that was like the perfect Geordie sound alike, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I've got the chat up now. Now I've got to worry about charging this while I'm doing this stuff, because this could go long, right? See, it's all about the length of cables at that point, you know?
Yeah, basically.
And people want to see some painting happen, right? But then they're like, what's all this setup? And not painting.
Well,
and just setting up.
It won't go too long for me because we're already past 10 p.m.
How can you sleep knowing that Trump is in your country?
He isn't. He's in Russia.
He's what?
Yeah, he's in Russia.
How
He
did he get
left
all the
UK.
way over there?
I think this is this thing called Air Force One.
He got there by rickshaw.
I imagine if he did have a rickshaw, there'd be like some really skinny slaves that like really looked like they were slaves.
It would be the best rickshaw. The
No,
best.
no muscle men for his rickshaw. They must look puny.
We took those kids from those detention centers, and they're running the rickshaw.
That was horrible.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
You always know how to take it too far.
Yeah, no.
I blame the lack of anything else happening in Canada.
Legal weed soon. And that's the only important news.
How can you say that?
What?
There's so much else going on for your country.
Apparently, Trudeau touched someone 20 years ago. A lot of shit doesn't happen in Canada. It's pretty generally peaceful. Even in my generally conservative province, conservative-ish in the terms of like progressive conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's weird here. Well, technically, it's a Sask party. Sask party is dumb. It's basically we're provincially progressive. Never mind. It's really hard to explain.
Apparently.
Yeah. Well, I'm just keep in mind that I'm just like politically stupid, and I'm not you, Mike. I can't just like rattle this shit off in my head. I just know that it's like sort of socially liberal type thing, but it's technically a conservative party. Saskatchewan's stupid. I'm just gonna say that much.
I don't know why you think I could just rattle things off the top of my head about subjects that I know nothing about.
Well,
there are people on this planet that I feel are way better at it than me, right? Like if I was to go like degrees of separation between me and the next guy who's good at it, I would say that TJ Kirk is at least twice as good as me at it.
Or Beach.
Maybe. I think Beach actually has researched most of these things that we want to talk about because he's got a lot of time on his hands. I'm talking about like not knowing anything about it for real. Beach cheats because he actually fucking reads up on the shit.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
Also, he spends a lot of time on Twitter.
But I think the person who takes the cake for me is Joe Rogan.
Why is that?
The man's got a really quick wit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there is no subject that he doesn't know something about, at least a little bit. But then he will have opinions, and he will put them out there.
Well, he does have one of the biggest like podcast platforms in all the world.
Yeah. Which, you got to keep on making content for it. But holy shit, he's got a lot of opinions on a lot of things. I'm trying to like reduce the number of things that I put my opinions out there on, just so I can focus and be great at it, just like 2 or 3.
Yo, I like that mentality because like all I've wanted to be good at for like the last 2.5 years is like dance and popping and stuff, and that's I basically like turned down everything else beyond those things. So like I have like 2 or 3 main focuses, and that's one of them.
Are you saying like popping and locking?
No, I'm saying popping. Popping and locking are 2 different differential styles.
Okay,
popping is like it's like sort of slow and like you pop, and locking is sort of silly and really fast, and you just like every once in a while you stop, you point. It's sort of silly. There's differences, but you have to like sort of have a keen eye to notice what they are. Because it took me forever to figure out what was the difference, and I was like, oh, there is a difference. But
okay.
It's very specific.
So if there was like a dance class called popping and locking,
then they would be lying to you. Well, they could teach you popping and locking, but they would have to teach them differently because it's 2 different styles and 2 different from 2 different ages. So if you want to like learn popping, you would go to a popping class or hip hop. Like you can go and like learn hip hop stuff, like, but you also probably learn breakdancing and tutting and what are the other ones? Ticking. Yeah, there's a lot of like really differential styles in dance, but in hip hop dancing specifically. But most of it falls under the umbrella of breakdancing, popping, and locking. Like if you watch differences, like you can see clearly what the differences are, because like locking is really fast, and you get like really specific stops and point. And there's a lot of pointing. If you see a lot of pointing, then someone's locking. If you see someone popping has like it has a broader brush. You can do a lot of just random stuff. I don't know if that made any sense, but someone pointing their
none whatsoever.
Yeah.
No sense was made.
If you see someone pointing a lot,
what I want to talk about in that regard is, Jordy, both of us have this limitation with regards to dance, right?
What do you mean?
Maybe for different reasons, because there's not as much maple syrup here in the U.S., but we're kind of chunky.
No shit.
Let me say it like 4 or 5 different ways with euphemisms, so that people really get what we're saying without me saying we're fucking fat.
Yeah.
Right?
No shit.
Like, we kind of tip the scales a bit.
Yeah, no shit.
Right? When we shop at our respective clothing stores, which are not the same because we're in different countries, we're still both united in the fact that we're looking for husky sizes.
Oh, I just like large and extra large like fit me. Like I'm not that big.
What?
Yeah.
Fit like a rubber band around a water balloon.
No, I'm not that fat. Like I'm big. I'm fat, but I'm not like.
How long have you been on this keto diet?
Actually, I've been off keto for a really long time. I just sort of like dance.
You fell off the wagon.
I fell off the wagon. Yeah, keto is really hard. Bruce, Beach is very, very, very liberal.
Okay.
Bruce is asking, is Beach a Trump supporter? Most definitely not.
Well, you know what makes it easier to fall off the wagon?
What?
When you're top heavy.
That's true. Well, I'm like full of muscle. I just have fat around the muscle.
Well, talking about top heavy, I gotta hit the sack. I'm falling asleep here.
Good, Michelle.
You're through with our self-deprecating fat jokes?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when you come back,
to the devil.
Some other day, we'll have some more jokes for you.
At an earlier time. Good. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Check out the inside of this lid. I like the little swirls that the lack of paint is making on the inside of that lid.
Hey, Beachy, do you want to defend yourself and say you're not a Trump supporter?
Not a Trump supporter?
Yeah.
Because I'm not.
I know that. But you have to defend yourself against I think Stiggy's in chat asking if you're a Trump supporter.
I think they're trying to troll me. Holy shit. Such vindication this week. Those indictments from Mueller. And did you know that they just arrested that Russian chick as a foreign agent for espionage, for using the NRA to funnel money and engagement between the Russian government and the NRA?
Beach, Stiggy just told me to tell you that he understands why you are the way you are.
I really don't care.
Okay. He just told me to tell you that, so I figured I would. By the way, how are you doing, Beach?
Okay. It's gonna be another 100+ week here. This is like the first day, so.
Oh Lord. Fun.
Which sucks balls. That's the way it is.
You come to Canada, it's slightly less like that.
Well, I know some parts of Canada and even Alaska get hot in the summer.
Motherfucker's like plus 30. That's in Celsius. I can't. I don't do American.
Oh, get out of here with your like commie gay ass European fancy pants Celsius.
But I've lived in Canada for 25 years. I have to. I don't even know how to like convert. I'm stupid.
If we were making comparisons between Beacho and Trump, as far as like what do they have in common? Calling Canadians communist, probably one of them.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, Canada's our enemy now, but Putin, he's
So,
old.
so I've been wondering, Beach.
Is there an outside link? Can you put the outside link here so I can fuck with Stiggy?
No, I can't. My hands are full right now of paint. It's on my channel somewhere.
Man, hold on. I probably have it as an announcement.
You can answer them yourself. I'm not going to be your middleman. There's your link.
Hey, I'm happy with that.
I'm happy not to be your middleman.
Yeah, no kidding.
Beach.
I would wish that on anybody.
Beach, I was wondering, do you like freedom?
I'm all about the freedom.
Okay, because Trump really likes freedom too.
Oh,
So there's another thing that you guys love
you mean
together.
You mean
freedom for everyone but Mexican children.
freedom to ignore the Constitution. That's an important freedom. Emoluments clause, bitch. I love it when esoteric parts of the Constitution come up. Everybody's emoluments clause. What the fuck is that? That'll give Stiggy a run.
I figured that was going to be a problem just from the get-go for anyone who owns a business. You can't get around that people are going to start.
God damn, you're loud, Mike.
Sorry, this is my show.
Okay.
It's funny because we were just talking about how well read you were, Beach.
How well read? Yeah, on those particular subjects, sure.
But anyways, the whole you have a business. How do you avoid people patronizing it if you are famous? Just patronizing it because you're famous or the president.
No, you don't have to, because you do what you call a blind trust. You know,
Yeah.
You have somebody who's the steward of your properties, you know, and take care of the taxes, run the business or whatnot.
That was the precedent that was set.
Yeah.
Like all other presidents.
Oh no, it was I don't know if there's some statutes that cover it, but it's generally considered an ethics issue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's impeachable.
I have known politicians to not have blind trusts and still be doing business while they are
matters
in office.
Ethically, it's if it interferes with if it puts you in a situation of conflict of interest. That's the primary thing.
I know it's not the only case of this, but in Colorado Springs,
wink, nudge, nudge, the foreign diplomats who want to come to your door at the White House, and wink, wink, nudge, nudge. By the way, if you really want to get ahead of the line, stay at Trump Tower in D.C.
Yeah,
they were literally doing that. That's an impeachable offense right there. Boom.
Especially by having his office there. So then, if they want to get closer to his office, it's not.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe that's the whole issue. That's getting a little deep, but
yeah,
it doesn't matter. It's called graft, corruption, bribery. He's soliciting bribes for personal gain.
I've known sitting city council members to have businesses about real estate and be making decisions about zoning codes every fucking day that they're sitting in office. And they still are like the biggest realtor in town.
Okay, we did any of those to sit. You have to prove that they can benefit or have benefited.
I actually have in YouTube videos before. Colorado Springs' last Mayor Bach.
File a fucking ethics complaint.
Dude, I have pointed so many fingers at so many politicians where nothing has happened.
You gotta fucking, it's easy to smack away a finger.
Mm-hmm.
You really, really care about it, you got to push it. You just fucking man, I shouldn't have to tell you this. You know this shit already.
Even then, you're not going to get very far most times. I've dropped.
Oh, you don't always get what you want in politics. Hello, liberal Democrat here. Hey,
I've dropped an entire, basically big chicken dinner on the actual FBI office in Colorado Springs, showing them how there was no fucking possible way that they had policemen watching a march that they billed overtime for, right?
Here, I got to answer Quinca, and I'll read out his question. You don't mind, do you?
Go ahead.
Ask about BLM publicly calling for the murder of the police or of police. He doesn't know that the ACL frowns on that. My answer to that is BL who? BL who? Who cares?
Here in Colorado, it's the Bureau of Land Management.
Well, that's a federal Bureau of Land.
But I don't know who BLM in this respect is.
It's
See,
like
that's funny. They're going to ask me these questions. I have no fucking clue. But they want my
Mike,
opinion.
you actually don't know what BLM is?
Yeah, Black Lives Matter.
Okay, there you go. Black Lives Matter.
I'm glad to have it return to be meaning the Bureau of Land Management.
Yeah. See, they're so out of the news and irrelevant now that I don't even recognize BLM as Black Lives Matter. It's back to Bureau of Land Management because I go camping. Life is so much fucking better when
the park system,
when the news is not dictating how you feel.
Yeah, isn't the Park Service is under BLM, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay.
I got to find places that are big enough to handle my camper.
Oh, Bruce spreading bullshit about separating families. It's all fake news. That shit getting old. Fake news. I'll just cry fake news at it. That'll make it go away. It's like, wow. And the fact that doesn't upset you at all, Bruce, that's like shame on you for just trying to deflect like that.
And how are they supposed to pull a rickshaws?
Well, I think here's my tinfoil hat conspiracy. I think Trump is stealing those kids to make them into a secret army, like the Janissaries. Remember what the Janissaries were? You do?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's going to take them away and have them raised to praise him as the God Emperor and make his own army out of them.
Well, that's better than Pizzagate, at least.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love it. All the people who were pushing that Seth Rich bullshit, that got blown out of the water. I've been fucking with people with that. Hey, how's that Seth Rich investigation coming along? I've been having a pretty good week, actually. It's probably on the political scene. Besides getting roasted by like a little roast beef in a giant Dutch oven. That was the last time around. I hope it's not that. Oh, Bruce, your whataboutism is adorable. Well, the other presidents are bad. Which is not true. Fucking hell, man. Trump makes fucking Nixon look like Jimmy Carter.
I get that reference.
Wow, the millennial got the reference.
No, he's Canadian. He doesn't count as a millennial.
Oh, that's only an American thing?
Well, see, the fact that Canadians know more about U.S. history than we do.
That's okay. All right.
It's actually due to the fact that we have this very stringent test to become a citizen, and they're all boning up for it because they're all wannabe Americans.
Here's what it is. Canada is the younger sister of our ex, who's obsessed with us now that we broke up with the ex, which would be Britain.
Mm.
They're the little sister that had a crush on us and now wants to go out with us because Britain.
You burned your house down and then you painted it white.
Oh my God, the party that fought to keep slaves. Oh, are we going to talk about the Whig Party too, Bruce? By the way, all of those motherfuckers that were in the KKK that were like what party did they run to when the Civil Rights Act passed? Bruce. In fact, where did the candidate? In fact, they split the Dixiecrats. Remember there? Really? Where did Strom Thurmond end up? He represented his state in the United States Senate, and he died in office as a what? As a member of what party?
As I Google Strom Thurmond.
Don't go too far down that rabbit hole. Strom Thurmond, he comes from when our country was old. Like, seriously.
Republican Party.
Yeah.
No, you're talking about William Byrd, and William Byrd denounced the KKK back in the 50s when he was a congressman. You're thinking of William Byrd, Robert Byrd, excuse me. And back in the day when the KKK was at its height, they had a member who was the governor of Indiana. And what party did he belong to?
That joke guy.
I'm Republican Party. Yeah, so there's Republicans, powerful Republicans in the KKK. See, I've seen this.
All I know.
No, Republicans have been playing this game for fucking 30 years. I've been hearing this shit since I was a kid. It's like, well, Quinn, you keep throwing bullshit like that at me. Well, you're throwing it out as bait because you're a fucking troll, which I love that. I've studied the history of the KKK, Bruce.
Was I running my mouth?
I went to a thing called school, when you were like running around barefoot doing your Huckleberry Finn impersonation.
No, you want to talk to Beach, dad joke guy. I don't know what you're talking about. Beach, I don't think you're too popular around these parts.
Oh, Quinca, you're a doo-doo head. How about that? You studied what you were allowed to know. But
what?
Yeah, no, Bruce he's putting his tinfoil hat on now. Oh, they're just pissing all over themselves because they've got a loudmouth liberal to interact with. So they happier than a pig and shit. But who cares? Life goes on. Let's see what.
Also, the only thing I said was that the little Mexican kids that were in the camps were gonna pull rickshaws. That's the only evil thing I said.
Thing I said to start all this off was basically that I'm tired about talking about Trump and
why isn't
and the entire chat and guests, all they ever want to talk about. That's it.
Unless you want to start talking about the community, because I'd gladly start talking about that.
We could argue about comic books. I got a lot of fucking ex-gamer gators. We're hating on Star Wars, which I don't.
Everything that is available to you is what you are allowed to know. Say what?
Oh, Bruce Hill.
Dude.
Well, what's going on? If you don't want to talk about it, that's fine with me. What's going on in your world?
Relaxation. An end to the suffering that you guys put yourselves through.
Actually,
Oh,
Poseidon,
Yeah, I'm a political junkie though. I fucking
Kickeldon actually said something hilarious. He's like, is Adrian down in the prison rec room? Did he get arrested in the anti-Putin protests in Denver?
I was not aware of such a thing.
Oh,
Too busy chilling.
Let's see what's going on in the Twitter sewer. I'm like at 878, man. I almost got 1,000 followers. What is wrong with people?
Bruce, I can actually agree with you on that sentiment right there. That sentiment I can agree with you on 110%.
Oh God, G-Man. Oh yeah, I don't see that shit still going on.
See, that's funny you should say that. That was the other topic that we're like, ugh.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's always the same shit. Some kind of drama. I think I looked in and saw that.
Not to mention someone's weaponizing every single half-decent person.
Fired. Somebody found his docs and got him fired from his job. It's all like, dude, you had a job. I'm impressed right there.
He was stacking blue barrels at the Blue Barrel factory.
I can tell you what that job wasn't. Rapping.
I have.
Well, it could have been rapping, but just not spelled the same way.
Mike, explain your art process to Dad Joke Guy.
I think you're confusing rap music with rap sheet.
That's it.
Heyo. You could even get me. Oh, I'm racist. You can get
It's like flow painting or something. Mike could explain it better.
Yeah, this is acrylic flow painting. It doesn't really have a destination in mind when you start. You just get somewhere beautiful. You know?
Kickledon, are you from like 3 years ago? Steve Shives is like irrelevant. Mike, I didn't watch that video, so I don't know what you said about Steve
Locked
Shives.
himself up in his little compound by
It was actually looking back at like the times that he was relevant, and it was not talking about him now, which I realize is actually a little bit more relevant than the time period that I'm talking about.
I never saw any of his anti-theist, atheist videos. I didn't even really know who the guy was until he became a SJW Dilby. Well, I rewatched Rogue One yesterday. Actually, better, yeah, got even.
Rogue One's pretty good.
Yeah, Rogue One definitely kicking. It's definitely the superior movie to the other two new Disney products. Although I did rewatch Last Jedi, and it got better on the rewatch because I could ignore Emo Vader more. Emo Vader's too much for me.
I watched the first movie. I watched the first like big movie, and then I have not watched the last one. And I didn't watch Solo yet, so.
Oh, I have not seen Solo yet, but I've heard it was complete dog shit across the board.
Now that I'm talking to him, I'm going to do this for the third time. Anybody who likes science fiction should go to 13's Amazon page and go read his book. It's free with unlimited, I think. There we go.
It's like some ASMR. I'll just watch this and slowly fall asleep.
Yeah, that's basically the point. Tiring you out.
Joe,
All that bullshit.
that's why you're so angry, Beach. Well, no, I not only have resting asshole face, I have resting asshole voice. So there you go. Oh, I'm thinking in the future for doing a Patreon thing, doing readings, because I've actually had people on occasion request it.
You could, if they ever make a Grumpy Cat movie, you could do voiceovers for it.
That might work.
Do you know anybody else who'd be the best Grumpy Cat voice?
No.
Well, that's a good start. No.
Creationist cat. Apparently, Brian. Oh,
I've
sorry.
seen Grumpy Cat with a lisp, though.
I always see him with like Garfield's voice, like Bill Murray.
That would work.
You produced a documentary?
Oh, if he was still alive, fucking. God damn it, what's his name? Who everyone loves to go to, the comedian. And use him. Oh, this guy's so profound. It's like, no, he's a comedian. Arthur, there could always be Arthur Gottfried.
You mean Gilbert Gottfried?
Gilbert Gottfried. God damn, names. How do these fucking things work?
Kids would be like, why is Jafar's parrot the voice of Grumpy Cat?
Oh, that might be true.
Why is the former Affleck duck the voice of Grumpy Cat?
Mm-hmm.
What the hell did he get shit canned for?
He said something potentially racist, I think, or something.
Same thing they all get shit canned for these days.
But anyway, dad joke. That's why you're so angry, Beach. Did I miss a comment here?
And somebody's out there thinking about my technique. And they're like, is this guy just finger painting and making like a 3-hour movie about finger painting?
That's like,
yes. Yes, I am just finger painting.
Actually, it's nothing like Jackson Pollock. What was I thinking?
I was thinking about the original Star Wars poster and how the constellation kind of twists up. And I was like, yeah, maybe we'll go for that. Whatever. Haters.
Haters gonna hate.
Mm-hmm. I gotta get some places to put these. So I gotta take these gloves off. This is a very complicated process because the hand that you're trying to take a glove off with is also very painty. All right.
Very lavender.
Uh-huh. Ish. I call it mud. Very muddy. Aha. There we go.
Oh, there's something I wanted to get to before we got too far off of it. But the only worthwhile Steve is the one that no one knows his name, Steve. And by worthwhile, I mean he's a dick. And it's not Steve McCrae.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
And I can't say any more, otherwise I'm going to allude to something that should be talked about.
Voldemort?
He's sort of a Voldemort amongst a very small group of people, but he's respected amongst the community for some reason. Even though he's a dick. I called him out years ago about it.
Oh no, drama in the Great Debate.
Oh no. This isn't drama. This is bad.
What?
This is bad, but I can't say his name because I promised I wouldn't say the name. I'm just gonna let people figure it out on their own.
Well, I have no fucking frame of reference. So I don't really.
another motherfucker named Steve. That's not Steve McRae or Steve Shives.
Mm-hmm.
Eve.
He's not known as Steve.
Yeah, okay, I figured that. He's got another moniker. I don't really keep up with, yeah, so I have no fucking frame of reference. I've been off the bus as far as local YouTube drama. I've been missing Jade too. That's been kind of kicking me in the ball.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, that's been sort of a shitty deal. Shitty deal to hand.
Oh, I heard something about that. That's why I just stayed away.
No, and then that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, first of all, I don't do public mourning very well. I'm very private with that kind of thing. I was sort of with my brother, except for a few friends,
Right.
such as Mike, who did help me get through that period. Thank you. But yeah, funerals and weddings, no, not my bag.
Apparently, Fiona's planning some sort of dealie in September, or no, not Fiona, but Fiona.
August, don't you? He figured out a thing. For $500, there's a park in Santa Cruz that will give you a name plaque on a tree.
Apparently, they wanted to like do a conversation pit and all this crazy shit involving because Jade.
What?
A conversation pit around her stone, but apparently that's not happening anymore.
Traveling out there.
It's like a mosh pit, but
apparently it's going to be one of the biggest. Apparently, it's going to be one of the biggest community meetups ever, as far as like our little corner of the internet, because a lot of people are going down there for this.
You know what? In a little while, and when I can manage it, I'll do a little fundraiser and get her a name plaque in the park.
Apparently, I would talk to like someone like Fiona, I think, about the stuff. Like, I don't know if you know who she is.
I know who Fiona is.
Okay,
Yeah.
just making sure.
I forgot about everybody.
She's in direct communication with the person who's actually doing it. Some friend of hers.
Yeah. Okay.
Because she's doing a bunch of dealy stuff for that.
Well, this is someone who knows Jade personally,
Yeah, apparently. But apparently on the 15th of September, they're going to be like putting her ashes in the ocean.
Okay. I guess she did not leave a will to this.
I can't confirm or deny because I thought I heard she might have, but I might be wrong.
Actually,
she had a what you call it? What do you call those people who deal with it when you die? What's the name of it?
Executor.
Yeah, she had an executor. Like it's their friend. It's one of her like friends that apparently it's the friend that called to have a wellness check on her.
Okay.
I'm just saying what's been relayed to me.
Okay, well then that's the person to talk to.
Yeah. But you need to talk to Fiona to get this person's details because I have no fucking idea who this person is.
I don't need any of that. I can have a plaque with a name on it, put on the tree in the state park in Santa Cruz if I fucking want to. Permission.
And I'm going to side with Beach on that. You don't need permission.
No, not permission. Not permission. I was just saying, like, as far as what else they were doing, like,
yeah, you don't
need permission.
Yeah, you're talking about handling her remains and shit, like, and disposing of her remains. Yeah. But this is like a little memorial plaque that they put in.
Yeah. Well, I was just saying what was happening because on September 15th, that's what's happening.
Best way to like honor her. I mean, knowing who she is.
Yeah.
Was. You know, and it's in her hometown, the place she chose to live.
I would hope that those that are going to this meetup make sure that they're not just spending time thinking about Jade and make the most out of seeing the friends you got because.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I've been like going around telling everyone I love them ever since.
Well, yeah.
Because of that, I was like, shit. Because like the problem with like me and Jade was that for a really long time I didn't talk to her, not because we were feuding or anything. I just like disappeared. I like left the internet for a while, and then like I come back two years later, and I say like I missed you, and that was the last thing I said to her. And then I didn't say anything else because then she passed away.
I know I hadn't talked to her in quite a while. That was kind of punched me in the gut.
Oh,
Oh,
What I'm
God.
trying to say is, like,
Peters.
if nobody made this effort to visit her while she was alive,
uh,
and nobody's making these efforts to visit people while they're alive, there are people going to this thing that are well worth visiting in and of themselves. You know what I'm saying? And at least some of the people who are doing this visiting, I have seen them visit other people while they're alive.
Yeah.
But this whole like coming together when people are dead, or even like coming together when there's a baby born or when there's a wedding, to me is off-putting. I've actually turned down like 3 weddings this year of people in my family, of people wanting me to show up for it. And I'm like, why am I going to spend thousands of dollars to travel across the country to see you for 10 minutes and see all the other fuckers that I don't want to see in my family for more time than I see you? That's not worth my money while you're having your wedding reception. I'd rather come a couple months later and visit you just to fucking visit.
Yeah, that's sort of been my problem, because like I really wanted to go, and most of it was to go see like people I love, like Kevin and Jackie and stuff, because I love them. But like also like there's a bunch of people who I'd punch in the face if I ever saw them in real life. So it's a real questionable thing whether I would go. I'm probably not going to be going at this point.
And
but
who do you think you'd end up talking to more?
Probably Kevin and Jackie.
No. Kevin and Jackie are in high demand.
Yeah.
So who do you think you're going to end up talking to more if everyone else is talking to Kevin and Jackie? The people who you want to punch in the face.
Yeah. Probably.
So I know, I'm just glad to know things haven't really changed in the great debate community.
No. The problem is, and a lot of people who are like here are sort of really disconnected from the great debate community. But like, it's the mentality that the people who plan this have made it so like whoever really wanted to go can go, and a lot of people have, and there's like a lot of really deep tensions amongst the great debate community as to who was going. And if I went, I know if I saw that fucker's face, I'd punch him right in the mouth. And that'd be a promise.
Wow.
I'm not gonna say his name because fuck him.
Okay.
I didn't. That was what's the word? When you're not supposed to say something. There's a word for it. Oh well, whatever.
Voldemort.
Yeah.
Mufasa.
That's okay. 13's yeah, probably true. 13. I'm trustworthy, apparently.
Everybody trusts you, Jordy.
I don't know why. I'm not very trustworthy, I don't think. Am I trustworthy, Mike?
I would trust you.
Thank you, Mike.
I mean, Canada hasn't been robbed of all of its maple syrup by the Americas yet.
That's
Jordy's
true.
been in charge.
When this is over, if I'm still here, I need to actually like tell you something, Mike, because you said something that I can't say here now, which is sort of bad. I'll have to explain it to you later.
Okay. Well, I hope that you're not pregnant.
No, I'm not pregnant.
Okay.
No one's pregnant. No one's pregnant here. No.
Me breaking that news to the world that Jordy is pregnant would be horrible if you were saving that news for your own video. Spoilers, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, what have I been doing the last 10 minutes? You fuckers. I've been putting popsicle sticks on plates and pieces of cardboard and stuff so that I may lay a painting on top of it and have it dry with basically 4 points keeping it up and breaking the seal that it makes with the paint so that the air gets underneath.
Uh, 13 just told me that they had an argument about whether I needed a large print book. 13, go fuck yourself. Being as I am a blind man.
What's 13's book about again?
It's a sci-fi collection of sort of like a Jungian, like a sci-fi based on like the Jungian mentality, or a sci-fi story based on Jungian principles.
Jungian mythology.
Yes. I killed. What's her name? Poison Ivy. Yes, I killed her. Can't remember. I've watched all those videos and I'm still sort of like lost. Poseidon Kiklodon is insinuating that I had something to do with the murder of skeptic feminist something.
You mean you did?
I do not believe I did. Maybe I did.
Okay.
Too much mushrooms and PCP or something.
Very forgetful for
Very
Canadian.
forgetful. Yes. I'm like, never mind.
Could it have something to do with your country legalizing something?
It's not legal yet. It's not fully legal yet.
Doesn't
On October
seem to
19th.
have stopped you in the past.
That's true. I'm not going to confirm or deny, but also I'm completely sober right now and I just drank a coffee.
Not going to confirm or deny, but you're going to name your channel after it.
Well, fuck off. You cunt.
What time we got? Plenty of time. Plenty of time. What am I going for this time?
Black, and if you got a silver, do silver.
I don't have any silver. Cunt.
Wow. That escalated quickly.
Yeah, thank God for global warming.
That's what Britain said.
Well, Britain's starting to look like California. They got wildfires and high temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
Mike's not addicted to internet drama or YouTube
Nope.
drama.
Not at all.
Except for when it comes to that fucking whatever his face is, Presticle is.
You know, I have enough for a video 6, and I just didn't feel like making it yet. But there's enough there.
And that guy is a card. Is what he is. Goddamn.
You really have to be in the mood
Yeah.
for that.
I
kind of shit.
showed people those videos, and they're you could hear their jaws hit their desk. And you could probably get addicted to something substantially more positive for you, like running or something. A stable genius, progressive. Although I will support. I will advocate for marijuana use if you want to. I guess.
Oh, I wish
The problem with running is you can't do it on a YouTube video because you're bouncing up and down.
Dragnot runs.
In videos?
Yeah, in videos and in Hangouts.
In Hangouts?
Yeah. Dragnut.
That's just an unfortunate name for a runner.
Dragnut.
I make fun of people's names. It's the highest form of comedy.
Speaking of, if you go to preachingtothechoirministries.com, it goes straight to Kevin's G-Man soundboard.
He has a soundboard for him?
Yeah. A certain person bought preachingtothechoirministries.com, which directs to Kevin's website.
Who's that person that bought that? A certain person who probably registered it anonymously.
It wasn't me. It was, but also they said to not say who it was. I'm full of secrets today.
Oh, that's just because they don't want to become part of one of his raps.
Inside baseball.
So the thing about the community as a whole, like there's been a theme amongst my videos for like 2 years or so now. But basically, I get tired of people making the same video over and over again.
Yeah.
Right? And some people will see videos of mine and go, why the fuck are you doing this? Like, why are you, who's made this other kind of video that I liked before, doing this kind of video? You should be in the box that I like you to be in. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But there are fuckers who make videos about atheism that are basically the exact same thing that they've made since they got here. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And
dance.
I am tired of them. I don't find them to be very intelligent. I just find them to be very committed, very determined to making the same video over and over the fuck again. Which, you know,
It sells, and you do what the audience wants.
yeah, it does. But what happens to you as a person?
I mean, look at shit, sitcoms, man. That fucking format's been how long now? Since the 50s? And it hasn't changed all that much. So there you go. Cop dramas, soaps. I'm getting that itch to go play Fallout 4 again.
Bruce, the most comforting thing for someone with PTSD would probably to put them on Ibogaine and sit them in a room for 8 hours.
And do what?
They're saying a serious question. What would you suggest to say a veteran with PTSD? What would be the most comforting? Go get some Ibogaine and go sit in the room for 12 hours. Ibogaine apparently helps with stuff like that.
What kind of questionnaire is this?
Bruce is asking something. It was a serious question. He said serious question. Something about PTSD and what would be the most comforting.
I don't know, man. I'd be telling you to shut the fuck up because you're setting me off.
Okay. Ooh.
And what's worse thing? Marijuana or what's worse, marijuana or YouTube drama? Come on, that's an easy question.
YouTube
For
drama.
PTSD, marijuana is better.
Yeah. Hello, 13.
Hey,
Even though I said I was in a self-imposed break, I decided to come into this hangout.
oh, this sounds like a break to me, man.
Fiona's not here, which is the break.
Actually, Stable Genius brings up a good point. Yes, PTSD is not just a soldier's disease.
No.
You could be in a gnarly car accident and have the exact same thing.
You mean a fist fight and have trauma?
Sure. Abuse. VA's actually looking at marijuana for treatment. For that and for my anxiety, pot isn't the best thing. I just smoke it for my hip though, because my hip and my spine, because it'll take the pain right out. And that reduces stimulus in my environment, so therefore probably by the long way around be good for my PTSD.
What about CBD?
What is that?
CBD is the therapeutic. Or it's okay. So it's THC, CBN, and CBD. CBD is the therapeutic parts of marijuana, which they've been stimulating. So it comes out like in stronger doses.
I've only smoked it recreationally. So
If I remember correct, the CBD contents would help with pain management, because I think that's what my wife's waiting to get legalized.
I would be taking that so I don't have to be high all the time. That's the only problem.
Yeah. CBD does not make you high, and they basically synthesize it so it's stronger in certain plants. Like there's something called a Charlotte's Web, which essentially was made so this little girl wouldn't have seizures every 5 minutes.
High every once in a while, but just not all the fucking time, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, the point of the Charlotte's Web strains is so that nobody actually gets high at all off of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's converted to oil, so most definitely all the THC would probably be like synthesized out.
13, what do you see?
Oh, let's look on the stream. It's a little clearer on there. I have my resolution down here.
Inside of a wormhole.
I've been watching it. I've been actually enjoying it a lot. It's almost okay. Now, if you look at the possibility of like cave diving, this kind of stuff, you could almost see that as being that being the proverbial end of the cave trying to get out. But at the same point, with the coloration, it'd be like some weird alien, like blue sand kind of thing. Pretty neat.
I saw the interior of a wormhole with a space whale coming into it.
Bruce has a nipple.
The coolest part was when you were tilting it back and forth, and there were parts of it on the stream at least that looked three-dimensional. It was really neat. Well, the paints were moving back and forth. It looked like it was coming up toward the camera, depending on how you looked at it.
Okay, we were speaking of those who cannot be named earlier. I think Jenny McDermott should be put on that list.
Oh, I think she needs to live on that list. Good grief.
Yeah. You guys still deal with her? I mean, you got somebody.
Did she come up in the chat or something?
Yeah.
No, not really.
She got mentioned in the chat once.
She got mentioned.
You know who should be put on the do not mention list? This person I'm about to mention, even though nobody else has brought them up.
Hit me. Who is it? Probably somebody I don't even know. So
that was a parody of what you just said.
Well, okay, how can you get around it? Well, you got to know who it is to put on the goddamn list before you can put them on the goddamn list. So do we have to do that little kids thing with starting now?
No, but if you haven't heard their name in so long,
I just read.
You might just assume that they are on the list, and just if you want to keep them there, you don't say their name, because once you say their name, they come out of the list, and they're just refreshed. You know, the length of time someone spends on the list, their sentence, if you will, is determined by, if somebody slips up and lets them out of their cage.
She tried to pop up on me on Twitter in a response in my mentions, and I'm like, oh, look who's trying to get out of their crypt. Back you go, punt. He was just trying to come up and going, and it's like, I don't care. Go away. Punt.
I don't know. I'm kind of glad that most people get burned out after a while, because it prevents some of us from having to keep hearing the same arguments over and over, at least.
Which is why
burnout saves us.
Which is why I put myself in this semi.
People are arguing that's the thing. I guess repetitiveness is the main symptom, main result.
There's that thing. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
Yeah, there's that.
It's not an accurate representation of insanity, but we can go with it.
It's not, but it's a fun one.
And more to the problem with the Great Debate community is the problem of being a skeptic in and of itself is you will never put forth anything in a positive manner. You will never posit anything. If you are too skeptic, you're just going to criticize, and we're never going to know what your true passions are, because you'll be afraid to open up and let people see where your vulnerabilities are. Because you don't want the criticism that you've wrought on other people. So here I am making some abstract art that's very subjective. I'm asking people what they see, and there's a whole bunch of people that might think, oh, abstract art sucks. Let me just criticize him as being a kindergarten-style figure painter.
We call those people Philistines.
Okay. But if you spend your entire time making content based on what other people said and criticizing other people,
can I say one?
How do we know who you are except for just an eternal critic?
Well, you can actually define people by currents, by what they're against all the time. They reveal themselves.
Well, the thing is, after a while, you simply start online, at least becoming the character you're representing at that point, because it becomes a mask that you're just putting on to make videos.
Oh, and you get trapped by your audience, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. That's actually part of why back in the day I initially had started things like the Insomnia Shuffle, so we'd have a place to go and be able to be ourselves instead of just hi, how you doing? I'm wearing this mask.
Yeah.
I'm ready to debate you for an hour and a half or more.
That's what I love doing hangouts. I just love the fucking conversation, the gab, the banter.
Yeah. I'm literally here only for socializing. I'm not here to friggin' argue. I'm not here to argue with people.
Oh, I never want an audience. That's why I'm like poo-poo on that, even though I'm considering doing some Patreon thing with readings. Just doing readings of books. So.
Really?
Yeah. I've actually had people request readings from me before. I think the last one was like, oh, could you please, and it was in a pleading way, read Jabberwocky, which I think is fun.
Okay, straight up stable genius. That's literally what I've been having to tell these motherfuckers over and over and over again. And these are respectable fucking people of the community, people who are like considered pillars, as 13 would say, sorta. I have to say, these are fucking gimmicks. Fucking G-Man's a gimmick. No one's willing to admit that motherfucker's just a personality. There's like, he's real.
No. I actually tried calling him out on it, and then he tried denying it. Anyway.
Did you remember those times that he was the rodeo clown for the drunken peasants? He was totally
and here's the thing, like the OGs understand because they went through it 10,000 times. These motherfuckers who've been here for like 2 years, 3 years, like, or even like for a year, like they don't get when I say G-Man's a gimmick, he could be real. But as far as it's concerned, like he's acting out.
Whatever of that may be the real him, he's amplifying it for the presentation.
And this is particularly why like I had to like leave.
Trying to act like that in real life and its day-to-day interactions, you'd never make it.
Because a lot of what people will justify is that look at what he's done at his workplace, whatever he's done, I don't care. Because you're reacting and then you're giving him the attention. And these are from people I love and care about, like people I really do care about, and they're just buying into his little scheme. And they buy into it every single time. And I'm like, sometimes it's okay to just not react. Sometimes it's okay to just say, fuck you, and just walk away. And I've had to repeat this, and this has been my mantra for the last year and a half is, if you need to leave, leave. If this is causing you stress, then leave. And everyone's like, no, I'm just going to sit in my little fucking hole. And
I don't know, man. I mean, the thing is with somebody that's as destructive as that, when he comes out and out of the blue starts talking about Boom, who literally has not been active since Gamergate.
Yeah.
There's a problem, man. It's like, why are you just attacking somebody that has nothing to do with anyone?
Talk about a blacklist term. That popped up again, too. Gamer. Kill me. Kill me now, please.
No, he ended up becoming politically active, and he's now, what is it? He's
I didn't know that. You gotta understand, I haven't paid any attention to him in a long while.
Oh, no, Boom hasn't been on for like 4 years. 4 or 5 years.
Oh, you're talking about Boom. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about G-Man.
No. Boom, who hasn't been on for like 4 or 5 years, is now he's like a seat of the Democratic Party in some state. I don't remember.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's actually making something of him, and then G-Tard comes out of nowhere claiming that Boom is a pedophile or something. And it's like, whoa, wait, whoa.
Whoa. Time out.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah, there was a time period on here that there were a couple of people that were saying that attraction to children isn't a problem. The problem is when people try to act based upon that. And it's a very nuanced argument that I fought him on because I think the language of it is sloppy and ridiculous and it gives the wrong impression. But G-Man took this to claim that the guy was like a pedophile because he was trying to say that the attraction isn't a problem. The problem is when you start acting on the attraction.
This is why I'd like to bring back the word pederast. A pederast, because not all people who screw with children are actual pedophile. Pedophile is someone who has a compulsion towards it, as the DSM describes it.
Yeah,
part of OCD.
And also, most of that would be people that are repeating a cycle of abuse that don't necessarily have proper control over it. It's a lot of impulse control involvement.
Yeah, I not
from what I could tell,
just,
I think it's based on like people who just have like a hardcore porn addiction, like because a lot of people don't get off to normal porn after a while. And at that point, some people will turn to like other
Oh
things.
no! This didn't even go that far, man. This wasn't even anywhere near that.
yeah,
This was more akin to when G Idiot claims that there's nothing wrong with slavery itself, as long as you don't actually do anything. You know, I don't know, man.
But anyways, back to this whole like thing about G-Man being, because I think he hung around with TJ for too long, and I think he learned how to be the whipping boy so well.
TJ and Brett.
Pun something. He learned how to be the whipping boy so well that he learned he could get a lot of viewers that way. And every time, like these are people who I respect.
Oh, you're talking about when he was the rodeo clown.
Yeah. And either he was friendly with TJ and TJ taught him how to do shock really well, or he learned it on his own because these are people who I respect dearly. I respect them to like no end. But at some points, they're just like they buy into this fucking gimmick so easily that they're like, "Hey, look at what G-Man's doing! Look at what G-Man's doing! Look what G-Man's doing!" I'm like, shut the fuck up! Please stop, please.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. I mean, even when I did the call out, I mean, I did it because I felt like it had to be done. But at the same point, the only reason why I felt like it had to be done is because I was getting really close to my second stroke.
Yeah.
Once the stroke hit, I didn't care anymore.
And I will reiterate this fucking thing till the day I die, as long as I'm in this community. If you are struggling with mental problems and you're still here and they are becoming the main part of your mental problems, then you need to leave. Leave or take a break. Take a long break. Technically, I'm on a break right now, but Agent of Doubt had
okay. Hang on, I'm going to be rude. Watch this on the stream while you're actually doing it. You'll see what I mean about it looking almost three-dimensional.
What?
You don't have to stop talking.
That's sort of cool, actually.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to point that out to AOD because it looks 3D on the stream, and I wanted to point that out.
Like, actually, he's sort of right. It does look a little.
Yep. I caught it.
Yeah.
Because you're not seeing the paint dripping over the edge, and it looks like it's putting a shadow on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was watching that earlier, just mesmerized by it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yes. Yeah, AOD's ASMR.
Asmer. What was I getting at? All right, yeah. Mantra.
Toxic clowns.
Break. Take a break. And the problem with these motherfuckers is that most of their friend circles, especially a lot of the older people around here, their friend circles are us. Which.
Oh man, the worst case of that was okay. I because I write, I'd been hanging around for a while on Discord in writing related forums. And I mentioned to one of the folks that I knew from there that, oh, well, I'm doing a Google Hangout and chilling out with some folks. And she's like, oh, you mind if I join in? So I let her join in. And within like 5 minutes, I'm like, I have to explain every single word we say to this poor girl. Mm-hmm. Our community is so insular that we don't make sense to anyone else.
Yeah, no shit.
That's what I mean by inside baseball, Jordy.
Yeah.
Like when you were talking about whatever drama it was, I'm like, I have no frame of reference. So
I have very big issues with that in my professional life.
Yeah.
Such as I have coworkers that have gone to very liberal SJW type universities, right? And this type of thought goes unchallenged in their school. They never hear any of the detractors that we hear regularly on YouTube, right? So I'm in a meeting about a form, right? A form that you're filling out. And somebody likes to chime in and say, well, when you're asking somebody what gender they are, male or female, you really need to pay attention to how you're asking the question. You need to ask them, what gender do you prefer? Not, are you a man or a woman? Because you're excluding all the non-binary people. And in the real world, I'm just straight up in the real world, 99.9999999% of people will not ask that question that way.
Yeah.
And it is okay, and it goes unnoticed. And when somebody is close to being gender non-binary, you will have visual cues, you will have verbal cues from them. You'll get a sense, that maybe you should ask this question differently. But in this meeting, what I was really stricken with was, okay, here's a bunch of people being paid to be here, and we're sitting around an office talking about what's important about our form and what's important about how our form interacts with the public. And this could be any profession, really. It just so happens to be in a counseling setting. But really, I was like, is this the most important thing that we could be talking about right now? Because given where I live in Colorado, anywhere in Colorado, a much more important thing might be, hey, everybody, try to learn 3 Spanish words every day. Then you're going to connect more with your clients if you can, pick up a little bit of Spanish instead of having to call a translator in every time you have somebody who speaks Spanish in front of you. Because more and more we have Spanish-speaking people showing up at our business, right? So when I'm in a meeting about anything and something pops up like that, I'm like, my goodness, you do not live in the same world as me.
Hey, Mike, I got a solution for you, though.
What's that?
Hand over the clipboard to them and have them fill it out.
So to make sure that the form is actually worded in a way that nobody's going to get offended, though. Needlessly offended at that.
I've actually seen forms with MF and other.
That we're talking about a form that has MF and other, but also a person who's worried about the way that that's being presented by people who are...
Hand them the form. I'll be right back. Then, yeah, problem solved.
Well, yeah, but as a counselor, I guess if you want somebody to just download an app and answer all the questions for them and just get all the rote responses that the app can offer and take the human element out of it, that's okay, but your counseling job is toast once the robots take over. Once the forms take over and do the work for you.
Yeah.
You think, okay.
That was a very robotist
if
thing.
People can just fill out the form themselves and then score the answers themselves and decide for themselves what is wrong with themselves. If it were that easy, no one would ever show up to any business. People would be doing all their own oil changes, so to speak, because a little robot would tell them, hey, you need to change your oil, and this is how to do it.
I would just like to point out, AOD, you're being very cyborgist right now.
Yes, very cyber. Okay, that looks just like blood splatter.
Well, see, when somebody suggests that I'm not needed,
I hear you.
You put arms, you cross your arms, and you scoff. You're like, huh, well,
something like that.
I don't know. I spent a good portion of my life writing sci-fi. Now, most of this was, like one set of stories in one universe and what have you. But thinking along those kind of lines, I look at things like, mandatory minimum income and this kind of stuff. And I keep thinking that as automation intensifies throughout our society and as we get better and better at it and eventually get things like, robots, actual proper robots to do work and what have you. Yeah. I keep thinking that it's going to be something that's going to be necessary.
Well, a lot of what people say when they can't figure out how to do something for themselves and remember it, they'll be like, well, every time I come across this problem, I go and watch a YouTube video on it and refresh myself. And it could be something as simple as every time I have to take an algebra test, I have to go to Khan University and watch a video on algebra. Imagine if people had that mindset for very complex tasks like counseling people with addiction, or like brain surgery.
Oh, good grief.
Or heart surgery. If the surgeon had to take a little refresher every time, they were doing their job, there's just something to be said for expertise.
Yeah, there
in
is.
your field, and that's why people show up to you, is because they want something better than what they were getting with themselves. Their best thinking landed them across from me at my desk, right? Their best thinking landed them in trouble. They thought, oh, well, just one more, I can get away with it. If I only do this much, I'll still be okay to get to work on time. All that sort of stuff was their best thinking. And it's my job to sift through all that, with a specific skill set. So if I'm just giving them a form, and the form has basically a script to it, like a choose your own adventure, where one of the outcomes is desirable and every other outcome says, nope, start at the beginning again.
Yeah.
Do you think that's really going to fit everyone's
No, case by case,
situation?
probably not. Case by case,
No.
probably not. No.
And you're not going to be very effective at it. Like, maybe you could have everyone land at the same conclusion that, like, maybe I need to write my life and live in a better way, and then they live happily ever after. But some of them are going to be stuck in that for years when they could have just skipped right to the end.
Yeah, back in the day when I was younger, I had to go to a lot of different shrinks for very different things. I'll just leave it at that. But one thing that I found is that for every good shrink, there was about 100 to 1,000 bad ones that just seemed to think that it was like a checklist, as opposed to actually trying to get a comprehensive understanding of what's going on. And that's when you're dealing with humans, never mind machines.
I've actually found the problem in counseling is worse than that, in that there are techniques that are supposedly evidence-based, that have some science behind them, that I think are actually trash. And what really makes a difference is you have to have a people person who can sell the therapy, who can get people engaged in it. And it doesn't matter if you're doing the fucking hokey pokey. Like, literally, there are so many contrasting different thoughts about mental health and what will get you there. What really matters is somebody leading you on the journey in an entertaining and engaging way. And if you have
somebody that encourages you to do the work instead of trying to lead you by the nose, you mean?
Yeah. If you have those kind of counselors, you're going to have a successful therapy. But as soon as you give it into the hands of people who are the lay counselor, who are not the kind of people you'd want in your studies when you're trying to get the thing to the point of being evidence-based, right? As soon as you give it to the lay counselor who is burnt out on their job, or they're just not very good at it and never should have been in the field to begin with, you're going to have problems with the therapy. And really what makes the therapies work is the people giving them. And there's no good way to look at a resume and see what sort of training someone's had in order to find out who's going to work well in a position. You really have to interview them. You really have to see them work in order to make a hiring decision.
You have to be able to trust the person, and you need to build a rapport. You absolutely have to.
Yeah. And there are people who have PhD at the end of their name, and they can't do anything. That whole those who can't do teach thing. Mm-hmm. I've seen it. I have seen it. I just went to a conference on addiction where there were breakout workshops, and I got into one of these workshops was about cryptocurrency, right? and how it's the latest fad in internet addiction, right? It was run by a guy who was a PhD, and I decided that I was going to try to record the audio from his workshop, and then his slideshow was going to be open for the public. And I took a few pictures there, and I was going to make a little slideshow video of his presentation. And by the end of the presentation, I felt like I respect the fact that this guy's worked in mental health for 30, 40 years and has a PhD. And I'm not going to put this presentation out on the internet because he will be laughed off the internet. I'm not going to hurt his reputation like that by putting his own presentation out there because it was so kindergarten level. Everyone in the audience knew more about this subject than him.
Yeah.
Everyone. And it was an hour into this hour and a half lecture that he finally comes out and reveals the technology behind it all. Blockchain. Right? So he goes an entire hour without naming the technology behind it all. And then it's like the big reveal to his whole presentation. We weren't talking about the different ways that people can show signs of being addicted to cryptocurrency at all. That's what I was there for, because I've seen it in my practice, with my coworkers, with some of my friends. I've seen people get so addicted to cryptocurrency and following the ups and downs of it, and taking out loans that they can't afford in order to buy more, taking out liens on their house, shit that resembles gambling addiction so well.
My summation would have been it's basically gambling addiction with the currency.
It's
that
like
would have been my entire thesis.
It's like day trading all over again. Only it's the newest craze because there was an uptick, right? So more people gravitated towards that because they saw that it was trending positive for a while. They thought that they just can't lose.
Hey, 13, how's your crypto wallet?
Well, actually, I've gone from back in January, the prediction of $13,000 a day. Sorry, $13,000 a month down to about $3,000 a month, between $2,000 and $3,000 a month. But I'm mining because I'm not stupid.
All right.
Because the actual trading part of it is way too risky with the cryptos.
Well,
the volatility is horrendous. If you can get the pattern of it, you can make a bit, but the problem is people don't want to make a bit, they want to get rich.
Yeah.
Which is why it's so much like gambling addiction.
Speaking of making it rich, if people spent that same amount of time just perfecting a skill, putting that 10,000 hours into what it takes to just mastering something, they might actually have a talent that they could actually make some money off of. Right?
Possibly.
But people are always looking to short circuit their way, find the quickest and easiest path towards success. And what I found is a lot of addictions are all about the path of least resistance, and how people who are offered it don't realize how that path really can make them sick and can ruin the outcome that they're trying to achieve. We could say bodybuilding with steroids. We could say seeking pleasure with meth. All sorts of things. There's a lot of consequences with not doing it the long way. So I find that when I'm doing something, it's very good to just be in the moment and realize shit takes a while, right? It's not just, click and find the program that you want to find and download it and watch it whenever you want. Life is not like that.
Straight up, I've broken my body from doing the thing I love, so I know that feeling.
Oh, guys, I got to kick off. My meds are finally kicking in, so my face is about to meet my keyboard.
Okay, man.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks for the invite, man. That was, no, I enjoyed the art show. I think that's part of the reason. Kind of hitting.
Kind of zen space out, yeah.
Hitting the gabapentin groove and the zen painting kind of job. All right, I'll see you guys later.
And you guys are only like 2 hours into this process, right? Part of this process, just like cooking, part of this process is the setup. Like it took like probably 30 minutes of this video, this live stream, just to get the stuff in the places that I wanted them to be, so I could start doing this. And I was enjoying it. There are some people who are probably like, why did he even start the stream if he wasn't set up to do the shit already? This is going to be an hours-long video that could have been 3 minutes in stop frame motion that we all could have gotten exactly what he was saying.
Yeah.
You know, gimme in a sound bite that's radio friendly. Gimme.
I have to go for like 10-20 minutes. I'll be back in like that time, but I'll be back in 10-20 minutes. BRB.
I don't know. I've been considering starting a new series of sorts on my regular channel, on the Shadow Heathen channel. Just working on it. My Rewrite a Book 3 and just doing it live. So, you know, if there is anyone out there that does write, maybe they'll learn something for it, but more so because the focus of this is to help with my stroke recovery by forcing myself to do the work.
13?
Yeah.
Grateful Dead. You can get that, but like some of my younger audience, they're like, what the fuck is he talking about?
But yeah, it's a lot of it is trying to figure out what that next proverbial project's going to be. And with me, you know, I spent years trying to get these darn books out. And now that they're finally out there, I'm like, okay, now I've got to work on the next installments. And there's almost more pressure because of it. And after the last stroke, it's like, okay, my brain hates me now. So now what? Oh, yeah, definitely.
This is 13's brain scan.
Probably. Actually, ironically, you're closer to true than you know. The first one hit right down that center, and the last one hit right back here. So, pretty close.
There we go. We're going to call this 13's brain scan.
Okay. 13's brain on canvas.
Mm-hmm. The thing about these paintings that I do, though, there's like so many different stages before it finally sets and it's finalized that, like, almost inevitably, there's some part of it that somebody liked as they saw it being made, that they're devastated that I didn't capture that part.
Yep.
You know? And there are so many people who could not make sandcastles anymore. The world is just full of people who could not stand if the ocean was going to come wash away their art the next day.
Or even the next hour.
And if you're one of those people, I suggest making a long-form YouTube video where you spend hours at it, and people can just, you know, stop frame on whatever part it was that they felt like you were actually on point with, and you know, forget about the rest.
Kind of like building a mandala.
Mm-hmm.
The whole point of which you and actually, my wife actually will forever be telling stories about when she was in college, and they had a bunch of Hindu monks came in and they built them. Buddhist monks rather come in and they built the mandala. And weeks and weeks and weeks they spent putting the sand down and positioning it and getting everything just perfect and just right, just to destroy it at the end, because that's the other point. That's the point of it, is that all things are temporary, nothing's permanent. And being able to let go is so important. But it's something that we tend to suck at. You know, now this is the way my brain feels half the day.
Right now, I'm feeling it's like the trendy tattoo of the logo for Sublime.
I'm not familiar with Sublime.
Well, it's like a sun face thing.
Ah, okay. Well, the last one you were working on had this neat little eye effector at one point, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat. That's going to go away, isn't it? Yes, it is. There we go.
Yeah, the parts that you like are the parts that I'm destroying.
That's perfectly fine.
We start to settle at a point where, like, you know that it's going to be at least something like that. But
well,
even then, when it's drying, the paint tends to pull, and it's not exactly the way that you left it. These things actually set hours later.
I'm assuming the paint's quite thick on it.
No, actually,
Really?
the mix that I use does not make the paint thicker than it would be if I were to just pour it right out of the bottle. I use additives that actually thin it and make it more of like a honey consistency. But acrylic paint, when it comes out of the bottle, is more pasty than what I use for this. That's why I was pouring it back in the bottle when I first started this video, because in those jars I was mixing a certain mix, like a recipe. And that's part of these paintings, is you don't even see it on the video. Part of these paintings is actually fluid dynamics. And
Literally.
yeah. And if you want the paint to run the way that you want it to run, and make the painting that you want to make, where you get green drizzling down into red, it's an extreme close up from the Eagle Nebula, right? Then you have to work at it. Now you see all those spots popping up like stars?
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
Yeah. They would be extremely taking over this painting right now if I hadn't pre-mixed the paint.
Those are essentially just bubbles, right?
Yeah. But also bubbles of fluid, right?
Ah.
And I can make that extreme, like 2 paintings from now I will, just to show you how extreme I can make it with other techniques. But those bubbles to me are like an extreme close-up of, something from the Hubble telescope.
It's also reminiscent of just blank fossilized wood. That's not the right word. But yeah, it reminds me of petrified wood. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
That's the word. Actually, when I was growing up, I had a chunk of petrified wood, and with the exception of the fact that there's some blue in this, the patterns are very similar.
Just one last shot at it so everyone can see where we got. Now, when I tell you that I've spent a couple hours doing this stuff in the past, and that I've got an entire setup just devoted to painting now, and I'm not yet at probably thousands of hours of painting, I'm definitely into hundreds upon hundreds, but I don't know, it'd be difficult to count it up. But just that painting right there, I guarantee you I can command $20 for it.
I wouldn't doubt it all. It actually looks really nice, and looks relative. I should say it looks simple to make, but many things look simple to make that aren't. And that often, in many cases, it looking really simple just shows the time and experience of the person that's working on it. I don't know whether that's the case in this or not, but
could be. Well, what I'm trying to say is, like, instead of doing, say, blockchain technologies and going for something that's like a quick fix on money, I've decided to concentrate on a hobby that brings me joy, puts me in that time warp of being able to think about shit without all this distraction of goddamn Trump.
oh yeah,
internet drama, all that other shit. I can go for hours and come out the other end, and it's literally like a time warp. I'm just warped to better feelings. I come out the other end refreshed. I don't really like the way this painting is going. Yeah. But yeah, I just feel like putting my effort into this has paid dividends so much more.
No, you say you don't like that one, but I think Lovecraft would have loved it.
Yeah, I'm seeing like faces and skulls and whatnot, like it's an actual purgatory. I'm seeing that too, and that's why I'm not liking it. Right?
Well, that's the thing, is not everything we make for ourselves.
Oh, true. So true. I mean, how many times have I painted Marilyn Monroe's face? All the times.
Yeah, that was for me, and this is a little bit of a weird parallel, I guess, initially, but that was one of the strange things for me is when I was working on the book, I spent all this time working on it. This is like I've gone through different visions. Even by the time it was done, I'd changed the central character of the story.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time it was all said and done, I sat there. I finally got it off to the copy editor. We went through. We got that all squared away, and it was done, complete, no problem. And this was the second editor I went to. The first one, I hated the ending and changed it. So we get to the copy editor. She gets everything set, everything squared away, and we're ready to print. We come down to the moment that we're submitting it to actually make it into the ebook. And I'm having this panic internally, like I need to change some things. I'm going to have to look back over this. This needs another rewrite. And it's this weird instinctive panic. And then back in your mind, it's like, no. I wrote this. This is done. I need to let it be. It is what it is. And you have to kind of accept that sometimes. Reality isn't always exactly what you want it to be, but it never will be. And you need to learn to accept that sometimes.
A quicker way of saying that in my world would be art, any piece of art, is never truly finished. The artist just found a good stopping point.
Yeah, exactly. More common way of framing it actually as well, but I'm verbose today, apparently.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but to me, it was just weird that at that last moment, I'm like, okay, I've been content and happy with this. I accepted this was the end of it for, almost a year by that point. It took me 8 months to get the cover art. But yeah, so I'm like, okay, so I've been happy with this for a year, and now down at the wire, I'm having second thoughts. But that's the thing is you make your art or your book or your poem or what have you. And the moment you go to release it to the wild, that's when all the feels jump in. Because it's like letting your kid out the door for college to some degree. Don't know how the world's going to treat them, don't know how they're going to be received, etc. It's a little scary sometimes.
Part of my let it go was getting rid of how it's going to be received. Like those guys who are stuck in what they do because they created a channel based on one thing and that's what their audience is expecting. I just decided, I need to completely make the artwork for me. And then if people like it and they come along, that's fine and dandy.
Yeah, I made a weird compromise with myself on that one. I decided to make it so it was available for free on Kindle Unlimited. That way, at least I don't feel like somebody's wasted their money if they don't like it. That might be cheating, though.
Well, my art is for free on these videos.
Point.
I even started up an art channel just for art, basically to try to make that compromise where instead of the place where people are used to me dumping my entire brain and thinking weird things, they'll just see the art.
I think it works. Something very chill about it. I like that.
If we're going by things in astronomy, this is more like a close-up of Jupiter.
That's probably why I like it. Years and years ago, I was asked, the whole question that people get asked periodically of, what if you could do anything before you died, what would it be? And mine was always, I'd like to spend my last hours just orbiting, watching this storm on Jupiter turn.
Huh.
Want to talk about something unachievable, but yeah. I've always been I don't want to say obsessed, but because it's the wrong word. I've always been I don't know. I just always loved watching the storm on Jupiter turn. Knowing that it's something so ancient and is over time slowly diminishing, but not enough that you could notice unless you were monitoring it for ages.
Yeah, people calculate the age of that storm, and they only know as far back as the astronomers that have seen it. Right?
Mhm.
It could have been thousands of years. It could have been just 400.
But there's a certain serenity I get. There is the term I was looking for with just watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Yet at the same point, I'm watching something that in and of itself is incredibly destructive in and of its nature, but at the same point, just watching it from a distance, there's something wonderfully serene about it.
I actually get caught up in thinking about its chemical composition.
Really?
Because you'd love to experience all sorts of perspectives on it, but the best we're going to get is sending a robot through it with a camera, because you can't breathe that shit. What it is made of, for one, if you tried to experience it from a fixed point, you'd fail, because you'd fall right through it down to like a core of that planet that is so far down below the storm that the storm itself would take on a completely
long
different.
Before you got there too.
Yeah, but then the air quality is made up of caustic shit that would rip apart any spacecraft, let alone spacesuit. It's a suicide mission if you want to see it. Right? Even with a camera transmitting, you're going to lose that camera.
Yeah, well, that's why I want to just orbit and watch.
And, even then, I'm like, to me, it just looks hostile. And I get when you have pleasant feelings from it. To me, that's the same as watching like a river, like with roiling waters,
waterfalls, even.
Yeah, stuff like that. That's a little bit more in our grasp.
Yeah, for example, if you were to watch like the tornado chasers and what have you, they watch these storms that are incredibly dangerous, yet something about them just entices them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those people scare the heck out of me. I don't know, man. Those people, I think, are a little nuts. I mean, I'd rather have, the safe place to be to watch something that's that destructive. Like 1,000 miles away with a telescope.
Well, yeah, those stupid fuckers are driving out there with pickup trucks.
Oh, yeah.
Why not buy a Unimog? Like something like a tank.
Ah, yeah.
Something that has some weight to it without much surface area underneath it that the wind can catch onto that well. Put something out there with some weight so that you can look at the shit. Buy a tank if you want to be a storm chaser. And I think I promised you more cells. That's the word that I'm using, because that's what the word other artists use. Those little bubbles.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna do that on this one, even though you probably didn't remember the promise I did.
Oh no, I remembered you mentioning it. It was right after the star comment when you mentioned that they were bubbles of fluid, not actually bubbles of air.
Yeah. So this is silicone, right? Specifically, it's the kind you would use in industrial purposes. That's like 99% pure liquid silicone.
Cool.
And we're gonna make this one bright, because trust me, it'll give you better feelings.
Well, when you're chilling up, just sitting there staring at the screen, the visuals matter.
Mm-hmm. That last one was kind of muddy, but I do have place for muddy paintings. In fact, I use a lot of them as backdrops. Michelle asked in the beginning of the stream, do I ever use a painting like 3 or 4 times? Sometimes I do just completely paint over a painting. But sometimes I actually use a painting as just like an atmosphere.
Yeah, years and years ago, because I got a canvas and started trying to make something, and it just came out horribly. ended up bringing the kids into it and just splashing paint around and this kind of stuff. And we ended up together making, it might have been a little bit muddy, but we ended up making this weird family painting, and it was fun. It was definitely fun.
I got an order for a couple of paintings that were Marvel themed, and it indirectly came to me, the order. So it's the gallery that I'm with. They want some paintings that are Marvel themed for a comic book store.
Cool.
And one of the paintings I did that came out muddy, it was something between green and brown, right?
Okay.
And I decided that I'm going to put in the foreground Groot.
That works.
And previously, I've put onto like a skyscape of blue and white, I've put Storm. You know,
yeah.
Where the fluid painting is in the background, and it looks like she's actually controlling the weather and, making that storm happen. Now, there are 3 drips of silicone in this, right? 3 drops, right. Which is probably more than I would ever use, but we're trying to go crazy with the cells, right?
Experimental art.
Now, one thing about the silicone is it's basically making 3 large cells right now. But if we take it, just give it a bit of a stir by cutting it like a pie, we're basically dividing those cells of silicone.
The silicon as well as bringing up some of the colors from the bottom in the process.
Yeah. So, this is the flip cup technique. You take
Goodbye,
the painting.
polar bear and snowstorm.
Yeah. Anybody who likes looking in the cup, there you go. I get people who are like that too. They'll be like, "Why didn't you let us look more in that cup? That cup looked interesting." In the comment section of a video that's a whole year old, I'm like, "Sorry, can't go back to it now." It's not permanent. All right, so we're going to lift this cup almost as straight as we can, and then we're going to take the cup away. That's the most important part.
Then you let the paint just kind of fall as it may.
Right? As you're looking at this, there are some of those cells popping up right now. Right?
Okay, we have the British band logo.
And where is it? There it is. Sometimes it's hard to find your stuff when you paint over it. This is the torch that's going to bring up all the bubbles.
And the burning temperature, melting temperature of the silicone will, I assume, make a difference in that?
No.
Oh.
You could probably actually do this with a straw.
Oh, wow, that's what it reminds me of. Oh, my gosh. Oh, I'm so old. Good grief, I can't even remember what they were. It was these things it was like the things you blew up with the plastic, with a straw. And they would make semi-permanent bubbles, which never quite held out and usually broke off. But you mix the colors and you twirl the straw in it, then you blow it up and it hardens. Weird memories from childhood. I don't even remember what those things were. I just remember the look. Red balloon.
Yeah, kiss that balloon goodbye.
Oh, yeah.
Can't promise you much, but that thing's not going to look like a balloon when we're done.
No, I got to turn right and see it again for a moment on the stream because inside and outside we have the slight differential, but I think this is exactly the break I need from all the ridiculous drama that's been going on here.
One of the things that I think has contributed to the staleness of your community, I'm going to call it, right? Like, I realize that I'm still a part of it, but
You're peripheral at best, man. You're way on the periphery at this point.
yeah, I might have had a shot at being really relevant to it at one point, and then I chose a different path for myself. You know what I'm saying?
I pretty well did the same thing. There was a time that they were going to be doing this whole big thing that, big shout out for all the these new atheist channels and yada yada yada. And good grief, it was good grief. I'm trying to remember some of the people involved with. Granted, Shives was one of the ones involved, but it was also people like Armored Skeptic and Logic and what have you. It was a whole bunch of people that are huge now, and it got kind of down to the wire. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be mentioned. I'm not going to submit my portion to it. And instead, I went around and just went to some of the big names I still had contact with and said, here, do me a favor and just plug these guys that are not participating.
Mm-hmm.
Because I decided, I don't want that to be what defines me.
Would you say, I've mind right now, but I'm going to try to keep it general. Would you say that the point of your YouTube activism, if you're an atheist, is to get it to the point where you don't have to mention that you're an atheist?
That's a very common thing in my case. I don't necessarily even consider what I do as activism. What I did when I first came on here was activism because Scientology was a big thing and the Anons are doing their protests and they didn't know anything about the cult. So I'm like, yeah, I'll help them out a bit. I'll do them a solid and help them break down what the beliefs are so that they can deal with that because we're talking about a group that does serious human rights violations there.
Yeah.
So I ended up supporting the Anons for that for a little bit. And then I'm like, okay, well, I've achieved my goal, which was not the Anon goal. They wanted to destroy the cult and, this kind of stuff. I'm just like, as long as they get their fair share of abuse, I'm fine. And once it got to the point that the media wasn't afraid to talk about it anymore, I was like, okay, I'm done. And then I started talking about other, religions and cults and what have you. And I immediately realized that, okay, all these people that were sitting there cheering my name, so to speak, while I was going after this one cult, all of a sudden, once I get the proverbial knife near the throat of their sacred cow, they were all up in arms. I'm like, wow, this is interesting. Let's play with this psychology for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, in order for the sake of my writing, I decided, okay, now that I'm dealing more and more of these extremists, and frankly, it's on both sides. I like to say the religious extremists, but it is honestly on both sides. I thought that it'd be interesting to study them because they might help with characters at some point in the future.
Now, where I'd say the silicone really mattered is something like right there, 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 there. The definite bubbles that you're seeing. The cell on the side, these two right there.
It almost looks like how somebody would try to portray their face in art if they were extremely depressed. Or, I don't know. It's almost like, the psychological self-portrait when everything's warped because of somebody's own self-perception.
Mm-hmm. I definitely am enjoying the aspect of this style of art that is a lot like a Rorschach test.
Oh, definitely. That came to mind earlier.
I love looking for shapes in these things and then seeing if other people are seeing the same thing as me. Like with the original painting I put out on this stream, I'm like, some people see a parrot, some people see a penis. And then Jordy said, I see a whale. reaction to that is, where the fuck do you see a whale?
Yeah,
and I remember, oh yeah, these things are subjective. You see what you want to see. Right now, I'm seeing like Shrek puke.
Definite peppermint ice cream involved in that.
Mm-hmm. And what's strange about these is like every other painting I've been making has been with leftover paint that poured off the other one, right? And sometimes it's the leftover that actually is more useful to me or more valuable as a sale,
yeah,
than the original.
Yeah, I can definitely see why, especially with this example. Sometimes you just have to let you trust your art to lead you instead of you trying to force it.
Sometimes you see a clump like right here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a clump in the paint that's holding some of the colors and then driving through like a boat. And some people would like be horrified by that, but you know, it's a fact of life when you're painting that you're going to have some clumps in your paint. Unless you're going for photorealism, just fucking get over it. It's going to happen, right? There's so many people nowadays that think that the object of paint and painting is to get to the point where you are photorealistic. And then you have mastered painting and art in general, right?
Yep.
If I wanted to make a realistic image of something nowadays, I'd use a camera and Photoshop. I might start with Photoshop just immediately. There are really good tutorials on YouTube about how to just make a portrait of someone from scratch, from a white background, right? And
that brings back some memories, actually.
Yeah, it's like I'd rather do that if I was looking to make an exact portrait of someone and go for that style. It's so much quicker. You can make prints if you want. You can even make a print with a company that will fake texture for you. So you can get some textured stuff. And they're actually getting better at that. It doesn't look fake anymore.
Years and years ago, back when Kadrik, my daughter, was, I don't know, probably about 7 or 8 at the time, we actually got her basically to play dress up and would give her different props. And one of them was this little Chinese Tonto knife. And we took all these pictures against a white background and then cut out the pictures and went on what we referred to as a fantasy vacation. We picked out the different pictures and asked her what back, and went through different images online of different fantasy art and asked her, you know, which picture of her we wanted photoshopped in there so it looked like she was visiting all these places. One of them, it has like her holding the knife, defending herself from this big scary spider thing. It was cute.
Huh.
But we did, it was just fantasy art is all it really was. You know, just take those photos of her and move them into this photorealistic art that's been made out there. You know, you are visiting this sci-fi city or this fantasy village or what have you.
You sound like a very good dad.
Yeah, I try to. Well, at the time we didn't have much money and we couldn't go on a real trip, so it's like, let's find a way to have some fun with this.
Mm-hmm.
I try. I think that's all you can do. But yeah, that was real fond memories of that one. I don't know. I managed to bake a few weird little life lessons into the books. You know, silly little stuff. Don't get preachy. Just something that's there, doesn't interrupt the flow of the story, and it's just the main character learning a little something about the world.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing as the whole point of this is these first two is kind of the Jungian arc as it is. You know, it's that the whole, you know, learning to accept the shadow aspect and learning not to necessarily feel it, but how to use it to benefit you at times. Instead of just trying to bury parts of yourself.
Now, what I see in this one so far, that other people might strain to see, is if right now it looks pretty muddy to me, right? Like,
Little
how
fleshy
would
too.
I ever really use this in a painting? Well, that little splotch of blue, I'll try to get right there.
It's visible.
That to me is probably going to be the tick that comes off of a magic wand. And then on this part right here, I would have say Harry Potter, right? And then this is just in the sky behind him, that colorful part.
Hmm.
And then the parts that are muddy that I don't like, I would then fill in as a landscape.
Or smoke
Behind it.
even.
Yeah. Keep the parts you want and ditch the rest.
But that's part of that whole letting go thing.
Yeah. Gets easier with time.
Not always, unfortunately. It'd be nice if it did. I'm sorry, I'm internalizing a little bit too much right now. Of the last two strokes, after the second to last stroke, I was really calm, super mellow, very chill. But weirdly enough, I'm bipolar, and the mood swings went away completely for about 1.5 years between strokes, which was absolutely fascinating. This last one, though, the mania, the depression, and all that is back with full force. And because of the long lapse, I don't right now have the scaffolding to protect myself from it, so to speak. Which is interesting, and it means I've been getting irritable a lot easier and this and that. And right now I'm not used to it, and it's like But normally, yeah, I mean, normally one does certainly get towards the whole getting more comfortable with letting go. But yeah, it's just with the whole recent thing, it's just like I'm this bundle of stress. Hang on. Watching AOD paint. Agent of Doubt.
Part of me has been in stress like that before over YouTube.
Hang on 1 second.
And drama.
Hang on 1 second.
Hello.
I'd hang, but I'm not the only one here. Hello.
Hello. Is that one of those paint pour things?
Yeah, it is. I'm about to do another one.
Awesome. I've been wanting to try that, but time and space and other responsibilities.
So what's your limitation with space?
I just need to actually clear out a space to do it where I can make a little bit of a mess.
Okay. Do you have a backyard?
Yes. And that's the other issue. The backyard tends to be about 115 degrees.
Well, that'd be perfect for drying time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It would dry real fast. I'm going to watch. And
I've definitely been working on having enough space to do this.
Yeah.
And people don't realize it in the videos that I make that are horizontal. But goddamn, I think I put a small glove in my glove pile.
Uh-oh.
People don't make the connection that I don't have a bunch of books behind me. It's actually paintings.
Oh.
So, like, I have bookshelves full
impressive.
of paintings. Some of them not made yet. So they're just canvases.
Right.
Baby paintings.
That's a smart way of storing them.
Sometimes just necessity is the mother of invention,
Right. I'm giving the headset back.
Yeah, she's going to ask me a question. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to answer this. I'll just hand her the headset.
See, one of the things I do at my job is respond to problems, right? Someone's having a meltdown, they're being very loud, whatnot. I respond to it. And in order to do that, you got to have some gloves on. Because you don't know. They could have some sort of sickness that you don't want to catch. Because you might have to put your hands on them, right? But more often than not, I don't have to put my hands on anyone. And those gloves are like 5 cents a piece if you break down the cost. And they're just thrown in the trash. So I collect them. But sometimes I might have stuck like a small glove in my pocket. And trying to put small glove on big hand. That's just funny. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I actually meant to make 10 more paintings today. But I think I'm running out of time.
I almost hate to say it, but half the time you're reminding me of when I pour cream in coffee. How's that for a Rorschach test for you?
Especially when I stir on the top, I get that same vibe.
The camera.
Some of the most beautiful shit that I ever see is in a cup that I'm about to pour. You know?
Yeah, I can believe that, man.
I'm about to destroy it, and I'm like, oh no, I have to stop and look at it before I destroy it.
Well, that last one, there was a moment there that there was this little bit, I think it was white that was going down with 2 blue ovals on either side, and it looked almost like the face of some bird briefly.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put the knife in it, and it looked like it was winking. So. However, I suspect if you hadn't slid I think it's a knife at least through there, it wouldn't have got the wink look, and I don't know if I would have thought it looked like a wink if I hadn't seen it as looking like 2 eyes prior. Pareidolia is a neat thing.
Play with it all the time.
Yeah.
Did your wife have any other questions that would keep a conversation going?
Yeah, sorry about that. I had to go take care of something right quick.
Amber.
I just heard that toilet flush.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. I had to go dig a hole, and I have to probably leave in like 5-10 minutes again to be able to come back. But I will be back eventually.
Why did you have to dig the hole?
Because my grandfather is not strong enough to dig, so I had to go dig for him.
Oh, you know the whole mountain thing? He had to dig the hole because it wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't a hole. I had to like dig a line so they could plant like shrubs or something. So I could plant the shrubbery, and I will have to go like finish that up, and then I'll be back. How long were you planning to run this, Mike?
Probably another 30 minutes.
Oh, well, shit.
Well, I don't know. Hang on a second.
Yeah, I've been pumping your book 13, so on Twitter and in Hangouts.
With how insular our community is, I don't necessarily expect too much from it. That, and frankly, my following's crap even on Twitter at this point.
My following on Twitter is almost exclusively like people from the Great Debate or people from MMA Twitter. So I have very low standards, or I don't have very high hopes for that promo, but I did it anyways.
Yeah, well, it's perfectly fine. I mean, that and it's just like Amazon.com/author/T Matters. And from there, they go look at it and they find out, oh, gee, if I have Kindle Unlimited, I can get it for free, and there's paperback, because we had to do paperback, of course, Jordy, didn't we?
Yeah.
You know why we had to do paperback, right?
I know we had a conversation about it recently, but
because you are pushy.
What? Oh, right.
Because you hate reading digital, and I'm like, okay, we'll do paperback because I'm sure there'll be other people that look at it the same.
Well,
of course. Then I'm like, okay, so we've got it in digital, we've got it in paperback. Heck, you can get it free for the whole Kindle Unlimited.
I saw some.
Then people start saying, "Where's the audiobook?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me?"
I saw someone already who said they bought it in paperback. So
yeah, we've got a couple little sales. I'm hoping.
I have to realize how much money I have so I can buy it. But
on our end, though, we don't even see the paperback sales until they ship. So I have no idea.
Well, I did.
We knew somebody who could voice over your audiobook. Someone with a really good voice.
Are you talking about Beach?
No, I'm talking about you, damn it.
Oh, there's where the issue comes in.
Oh, what's that?
This is a lot of why. Actually, heck, this is why I might actually spend more time watching your streams at this point because of the calming effect they've had on the back of my brain here.
I know, right?
Well, the thing is that right now the left and right hemispheres aren't quite communicating the way I'd like them to. So a lot of the time, that the stress levels from the bipolar freaking resurging and what have you. But because of all these very different factors, it's been harder for me to focus down and not start tripping on words or what have you. And I'm supposed to be working on book 3 as it is. Now, initially, I planned on trying to do an audiobook for it, which is going to be a massive, massive endeavor.
Yeah.
Major undertaking. It's just a lot of time taken up. Oh, wow, that's really nice. It just takes a lot of time, really time consuming. So while I was considering initially doing it myself, mostly because of, one of my father's lessons, that whole, if you want it done right, do it yourself thing. Uh-huh. And when you're trying to get contributors, you have to worry about mic volume levels. You have to worry about mic distortion and this and that. But right now, because of those two halves not working too well, I've been having some speech-related issues, which are pretty calmed down right now because I'm just being mesmerized by what you're working on here. So I'm going to have to remember that for future.
Sorry.
Why is your old lady not painting for you?
Because she doesn't have the place to do it right now. I've taken up half the damn house. Oh yeah, remember Bitcoin mining?
Well,
I was not here to say hello.
So when I asked about the backyard, that's probably a better temperature than inside.
It might be, I don't know. But yeah, she works most of the day, and what I really need to do more than anything else in theory is get to work on the rewrite of 3 because it's really needed as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. I want to keep going further with the story, but if I'm working on that, I'd have to be taking breaks from that to work on the ebook and make sure that I'm not tripping on every word. So I'd be spending most of my time sitting there doctoring everything I say with Audacity.
If only we still had that audio guy in the queue.
Oh, he's a punk. He
is a punk. That name I will say very, very, very.
That was another case of the if you want it done right, do it yourself kind of thing. Because there are a lot of people that just aren't reliable.
Yeah.
I mean, years ago, I was thinking it'd be fantastic. And, I have some of the people resources, so to speak, to be able to do it. It'd be great to have the different characters voiced by different people and have them do their individual parts and yada, yada, yada. And there's too much involved.
I love how Brian wanted to make it into a radio show.
Yeah, and welcome him to do that. I told him with book 1, he's welcome to.
That would have been bonkers.
Of course, Exile immediately pointed out that it would be a lot of work and a lot of time and effort and a lot of involvement of other people, and that it might not be very realistic.
And they have had stuff to do that was more important than the book.
Yep,
more important than the radio show. Unfortunately,
well, I mean, it's like we were talking about letting go. There are the projects that you want to do, the things that you care about, but at a point you have to say, okay, it's done. I'm going to just let go. I'm going to let it out there into the wild. And if I go back at some point and do an audiobook, I will. But I need to make sure that this is working well enough that I'm not going to have to do massive amounts of editing, which I fear I would right now, especially when I get worked up about things.
Especially dickweeds like G Fuel.
Oh, yeah. That, and I'm still at that stage in the recovery that I'm really self-conscious. Although it might not be showing here, but when it comes to like doing reads or this and that, and I'm just like, and there's always that little moment of how well this be received, and it's not like I can just on my own read book 1 or 2 because I can't actually share more than 10% of it on any platform for the sake of keeping in with my contract agreement. So that's why I'm going to be doing some live stuff while I'm working on 3.
You just send out 10%, 10%, 10% over time. And just say that, yeah, there's 10%. Until you're at 100%.
I don't know. It's just a lot. I don't know, man. It's yeah.
Who
Some of
says
the stuff
stop?
is real long.
What's up?
Who says stop?
I'm thinking stop.
Yeah, I guess you're fine there. It looks like you ran like a filter through like a mountain.
I would have said beach.
I would have said beach too, but it looks like that's like a cliff face.
Well, you know, beaches can be along cliff faces still.
Mm.
I don't know. We might be looking at different parts of the same thing.
Okay, well, actually, what it looks like, it looks like someone's sitting by a fire on a beach.
My wife says she likes that one.
Yeah, well, Amber likes most things.
Now, see, all I have to do is put some blue and white together, have any other colors, literally any other colors, as the other side, and just have a contrast between blue and white and anything else, and people will see sky or ocean and whatever else, and they will buy it. They will buy it, right? And when I'm looking at it, I'm like, do I like it? Who cares if they like it? Like, at any point in this thing, I could have stopped, right? It stopped shifting it around and just, like, stopped.
Looks like someone's playing tennis.
And been like, okay, they're going to buy it right now.
You see the tennis racket, because I do.
I'm too busy just staring at the bubble on the top left.
I'm staring at the bubble in the middle right, or middle left, and that's the tennis racket.
Of course, I've spent way too much time doing sci-fi. I see a giant bubble on the top left, and my first thought is, what's under the water?
Now it really depends. Is this a top view perspective, or is it a side view?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So versus Bitcoin mining, if I say that my materials were under $2 and this is going to go for $20 easy, and that was my amount of time spent on it, how am I doing?
Well, in my case, with the Bitcoin miners, I have it set up so that I, in theory, can just run them and ignore them all day long. Or at least that's the goal. I do have to adjust them because of heat periodically. So since it's passive income that I'm completely ignoring and I can work on other things while that's going.
Okay.
That's kind of the thing is, I mean, there are a lot of people that sit there and spend more time worrying and optimize the coins, and you have to move this to this coin and this to this coin.
I remember you were doing that.
Then I was doing that for a while. Then I got smart.
Okay.
So my objective is to just have passive income that I can ignore, and it's not, it's not a massive amount, but it pads out my income, and that frees me up to work on things I care about.
Dude, that's $3,000.
Okay.
I wouldn't.
Those things that you care about, that you're doing with all your time when you're earning passive income.
Mm-hmm.
Are they upsetting you?
No. Okay. I'm going to redo that for a moment. Yes. They are upsetting me, but I want them to be upsetting me.
What? That's incredibly honest.
I need to rebuild. I need to rebuild my brain so that I can do the writing that I want to do.
So
and
when are you going to graduate from G-Man, who is like kindergarten?
Well, the limitations are things like, for example, this hand is really screwed up from the stroke damage, and I'm trying to get the use of it back. This hand just has standard carpal tunnel nerve damage, but between the two, I can't necessarily type. Now, I've reached out to a friend of mine that has agreed to try an experiment to see if it'll help with it. And what she'll be doing is, as I'm actually doing the writing while using Dragon Naturally Speaking, I'm going to have her going through and basically helping, in theory, while I'm working on it, find the words where Dragon screwed up and put the wrong word in, and have her basically try to do live corrections while I'm doing it.
Is Annie?
Yeah, Annie, of course.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, I don't think anybody else has the patience.
Her typing speed is like 14 words a minute. Her typing speed is almost as bad as mine after the stroke damage. But at the same point, it's something that, you know, it could help because my vision's also screwed up, so I don't necessarily see when those wrong words show up either.
Mm-hmm.
So, but at the same point, the fact that I'm having these problems with my hands right now, and the fact that I have the damn story in my head, but it's not coming out through my hands, so to speak, and I can't get it out. That is the key source of frustration. So I need to learn to adapt so that I can get it out. And at that point, things will smooth on. But there are also some cognitive studies that show that the involvement with stress can actually help rebuild some of those bridges between the neurons, which is the only reason, to be completely honest, why I'm dealing with GTARD at all right now. It's deliberately to stress myself out because I've found some studies that say that this can help. So I'm checking to see if that's accurate or not. And if it doesn't seem to help, then so be it. I'll move on to the next way of trying to deal with it.
Remember what I said about that? I don't know if you ever watched that video I sent you about that guy who was talking about having Lyme disease and then basically almost curing it through just like flow training. It was some TED talk or something that I found. I was like, oh, 13 might find this useful.
I don't think you sent me that one.
I'm
not sure if you sent me that one.
I know I sent you that one. I sent it specifically to you. I was like, 13 will probably find it.
I'll check back through my list. I'm sure I just didn't get through the.
He said he used to surf for a really long time, and he got Lyme disease, and he started becoming like delusional, and he'd like barely walk and stuff. And he said like basically through getting his flow back from surfing, he basically almost cured his Lyme disease, which is bonkers. I don't know if it's true.
Well, after I'm done testing to see if the stress has an effect, we'll try that next.
Because apparently
the two of those fail, I'm going to go to my last resort effort.
Anyways, what was it? Apparently flows, like certain flow states, like you ever hear? I can't remember what his first name was. Chick Sent Me High. He's done a lot of positive psychology about the flow state, which essentially starts will run your neurons like in like really super efficiently. I don't know how to explain it. It's really hard. But like essentially, flow state can basically put you in an automation, and that will basically.
I know what you're talking about. At that point, you're kind of relying almost on the muscle memory of it to carry you through.
Yeah.
I've already attempted something along those lines, and it works with some things, but not with the writing right now.
Yeah.
The problem is I start getting into that, my hand's moving where it thinks it's supposed to be moving, but it's not lining up with anything in reality, and I have a massive case of mittens hands with the left hand right now.
Yeah,
these two fingers just they do not want to be separated until I can. That's just going to take time to square away. Now, the last time around, as you may remember, I was pushing it. I was doing like anywhere from 8 to 16 hours a day working on trying to get the use of my hand back. And right now with this last stroke and how badly it snapped back, because I mean, I was back to square one after the stroke.
Yeah.
After putting all that time and effort in, and I'm thinking I might have done it too quickly. So I'm thinking if I rebuild it more gradually, it might be more permanent and more enduring.
Yeah.
So this time I'm taking my time with it instead of just trying to force for, recovery as fast as possible.
1 second. I'll be right back.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hope working on like the live edit and this and that kind of thing will. I'm thinking in addition to simply like trying to get book 3 done, that maybe there are some other people that have suffered from strokes out there that might be helped or inspired by it to some degree. I think that makes it a more worthwhile calling.
Mm-hmm. Giving back?
Yeah, I hope so. I'm just glad I got the first 2 basically done before the first stroke hit. Now, granted, I did do a rewrite in it, and anyone that's really paying attention in book 2 will find the point at which I had a stroke. Because it's there. Instead of just simply ignoring it, I wrote around it in a really interesting manner. For all intents and purposes, the main character might as well have had an aneurysm at that point. Or around that point. So it wasn't directly writing the stroke into it. It was part of me having to reset myself, so to speak. Was I had to get in touch with some of the earlier histories of my little universe and what have you. So, and this is after the main character has spoilers has had a little experience, we'll say, with time traveling. And at this point, she's not quite stabilized in time yet. Some of the after effects of time traveling is she's not quite stuck in time, we'll just put it that way. So since she's not fully anchored, she has these experiences where she's essentially traveling through the early history of her own timeline before anything that she can recollect. And that's the stuff that's post-stroke. And part of the reason why it's in there is that I'm having her reconnect with who she really is. And, well, I'm reconnecting with who I was while I was writing it, so to speak.
I have to run off again. I don't know if I'll be here for the end of the stream, but if you guys are here, I'll try to jump back in.
Well, take care, man.
Possibly temporary good day. Good day.
I don't know. I'm having a reasonable enough day. Now I am, at least. Heck, earlier I was starting to get a little stressy. And a lot of that was having to do with, oh no, we're releasing the book. Oh, good grief. I was having like a massive panic attack for probably about a half hour before I redid the announcement video. The initial announcement was going to be like this announcement party thing, and the Hangout got absolutely vandalized by some twit little troll.
I hate twit little trolls.
Yeah, when somebody feels the need to run in there and start yelling the N-word, and I'm foolish enough to actually complain about the stroke slowing down my reaction speed while trying to remove them, then they're going to come in and start poking fun at that. It's like, dude, really? You're just a schmuck. Get out of here. And the funny thing is, I suspect most of the people that do those kind of antics aren't actually racist. They're just using that specific word to try to get a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it did give me a chance to crack a few jokes pertaining to the book, though, because strictly speaking, there are no Caucasians. There are no white people in Corrales. They died off.
Why are they dead?
Okay, what happened was in the early history of okay, I can't say the early history of Corrales, but back when Earth was initially seeded with life, it was seeded by several different races. And when humans ended up becoming the top species, and the planet was, and this was discovered when they went back to do some evaluation to see how the experiment went, because it was almost a contest to see, okay, we're going to each seed this planet with genetic pods. And we're going to find out which one of our species is superior by seeing which one eventually evolves to be sentient, to be, an intelligent life form, tool using, etc. So they eventually came back to examine things, and they were like, wait a minute, why is it these humanoid-looking ones? The humanoid-looking race came much later into Corrales. Somebody must have gotten involved and interfered with the experiment. So they went down to try to find samples, and of course, humanity being as it is, when they came down to try to get samples, humanity decided to be irritating. So they're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean with this one ship that's just going around taking samples in this small remote island chain. And humans, being both inquisitive and a bit irritating, decided to send out different planes and boats and what have you to try and contact the aliens, and wouldn't leave them alone. So it was eventually determined between the different groups of aliens who went out that fine, we'll make contact. So the UN being in the US, that's where they did end up actually agreeing to have the meeting, because here we have representatives from all these other nations. It just makes more sense. So they were brought to this huge gala dinner, and they decided what we're going to do is we're going to get all these different foods and present them before the aliens, and we'll try to give them things that we consider to be the, I'm blanking on the word. This is the issue I've been having lately. Basically the finest cuisine, but also very samplings from different nations and different kinds of food and what have you. Now, of the races, there were the Jani, which are large bipedal lizards, immense reptiles, brown scales, and fur going down the center of their backs from the center of their foreheads. Another one were one of the newer races, which were the Lamentics, which were a humanoid-looking race. No relation to us, of course, but very similar in appearance. Very pale white skin, very pale white hair, almost vampiric looking in a sense. You know the trope. It's been used a lot these days. It's become more popular in the last several years, even. Well, the last decade, I should say. So you have the Lamentics, which incidentally, the name Lamentic is a mispronunciation of the actual name of the race, but that mispronunciation stuck. Then, in addition to that, you had the Shakir, which were a large bestial race, you know, your big, furry, animalistic-looking species. And the Colmians. Now, the Colmians have ovoid bodies, a number of legs that go down to the ground that look like tentacles, we'll just say. It's basically wreaths of tentacles around this ovoid body. And on top of that is a rounded, almost helmet-like lump, and that's where the eyes are. So these are the different races that are brought there to eat, and dinner is served. And they all sit down and eat and try to communicate as best as they can through what translations they've managed to get, because they've, of course, been observing the world for a bit of a while prior to this. And they bring out the food, and afterwards the Colmian delegation says, this is interesting, this tastes interesting. This is fascinating food. We'd like to know what kind of animal this is from. At which point they had to explain to them what calamari is from. Now, there are a few things that were learned by the humans. Now, the key was never serve calamari to an alien cephalopod.
Oh, no.
So after the insult of this meal, the Colmians decided that they were going to destroy the planet and basically enslave the few survivors after the initial attack, because humans clearly are, well, we don't deserve to live, in essence. We're too rude of a species, and that kind of rudeness cannot be tolerated. The other races involved said, no, we shouldn't do this. What we're going to do is we're going to see about sending ARC ships to the planet. We're going to try and evacuate who we can. And the Colmians did not technically agree to it, but due to the time that it would take to get to the planet to destroy it, it's not like they could do much about it. So a number of ARC ships, 12 ships, were sent to Earth to evacuate the inhabitants. And because the Terrans, the humanoids on our planet, most resembled Lamentics, they were put in charge of the evacuation. Now, granted, it was recommended to them, make sure that you have the ships balanced in terms of who's on them, so that we have on each ship people that have the science background that they are going to need when they get to their destination, so that they have the health understanding that they need. So basically, they have everything they need in terms of the skill groups. The Lamentics are jerks. So what they decided to do instead of this was, since humanity had arbitrarily divided ourselves based upon our perception of race based on things silly as skin tone or what part of the world you're from, they decided to conduct an experiment of their own. And they gave the ARC ships to some of the more extreme groups of humanity, and then send them out to the stars in these ships with pre-designated destinations, to see what happened when they evolved over time, over the following, thousands of years, until they made it back to the stars.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the groups it was given to was Militant Black Coalition. You had white supremacists. You had one ship that was sent to Asia. You had another one that was to South America. You had one sent to India, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Now, most of these species of humans, because now they are different species because they've evolved over the course of about 40,000 years. Only a few of them made it back to the stars. Many of these initial tribes, so to speak, have been lost. Well, we do have some idea of what happened to some of them because, for example, the Middle Eastern ship never made it to its destination. Sabotage is suspected. However, the white supremacist group did indeed make it to their homeworld and did manage to eventually make it back to space. The Dayreth, the black supremacists, the black extremists rather, they also managed to find themselves a nice, happy little homeworld and thrive just fine. But the most successful of the races were actually the Shrimpharians, which would be your Far East Asians, Japan, China, Korea, people from these origin points. Now, part of why they were most successful is that it was discovered that since they are of the, I believe it's the Novian branch of humanity, that there are enough genetic similarities that the Lamentics can actually interbreed with them. So they ended up tinkering with that genome and helping the Shrimpharians become the top human subbreed at that point. Now, each one of these has a bit of a joke to it. For example, the Black Separatists are now they're a matriarchal society to the extreme. Males are virtually slaves to the females and are treated as being almost worthless to society. The white supremacists, on the other hand, landed on this lovely planet with a blue sun. And it's due to the fact that they prized the whiteness of their skin. By the time they finally left their planet, their skin was blue because of the tinting on their planet from the blue sun. So yeah, there's a lovely little bit of irony in almost all of them. There is, however, an additional group of Terrans. Incidentally, the South Americans, they did actually end up making it through the 12th tribe, and they actually appeared in a role-playing game that I ran online for, I don't know, several months on here. But one of the other groups that actually survived, because humanity, we're not complete slouches. We did actually make our own ships to escape the planet. And these ships were loaded up with, the rich, the powerful military leaders, political leaders, this kind of stuff. And they decided that they were going to land on a planet that they found that was already inhabited, thinking we'll just simply beat them and take over. Didn't work so well. The planet was very hostile to them, as well as the peaceful inhabitants, or would have been peaceful inhabitants, weren't very nice to them after they started being attacked for resources. So that particular group of humans, due to their desire for conquest, we'll just put it as, for their inability to share and cohabitate with others, didn't fare very well and eventually evolved into the Udbar, which are a green-skinned species with large yellow eyes and are known for being cannibals.
Did anyone hide?
Oh yeah, most of the ones that were left behind were eventually rounded up after the initial, so to speak, destruction of the planet, which was orbital bombardment. The few survivors that were left, most of them were rounded up and taken and essentially lobotomized and used as slave labor for the Colmian race. They are now known as Gallic. We did not get a good outcome. So effectively, humanity's been, as we know it now, has been dead at this timeline for about 40,000 years. Left to our own devices on different worlds, divided based upon our own bigotry, to re-evolve to see what we'd become. And there was, in one hangout I was within, I got talking with this one girl that was from India, and she asked me what happened to the people from that part of the world, and I was a little embarrassed to tell her what happened with them. Their ship was intercepted by a younger race known as the Eshalar, who have goldish colored skin, this almost jaundice looking skin, that yellowy jaundice color, and had 6 arms, and they were brought to the planet where they immediately started being treated like gods, and nothing's been heard of them since because they've not been made into space on their own. They merely serve the Eshalar. Or in other words, yes, they landed on. They were abducted essentially by a race that looks like Hindu gods. Oops. I like irony. But yeah, I try to throw a little bit of, to say the least, have a little bit of influence of Douglas Adams. When I was initially promoting this through this pitch war thing that they have through Twitter and what have you, one of the pitches I used was, if Orson Scott Card, Douglas Adams, and Carl Jung walked into a bar, this is the book that would have walked out, most likely in disgust. That, of course, and I had to throw in there, you never serve calamari to an alien cephalopod, don't put a hostile AI in charge of a cloning facility, and never, ever say popcorn in a crowded movie theater. It's a racial slur.
It's a racial slur?
Yeah, popcorn's a racial slur.
How is it a racial slur?
Because it means something to a different race than it means to us. Same sound. And the true answer and the actual, full reasons behind it are in book 2.
Okay.
But yeah, popcorn is one of those races is known as changelings, true protomorphic. They're that kind of changeling that doesn't merely change shape, but can change themselves on an atomic level. So, if they want to make their skin as hard as metal, they can turn their skin to metal. That degree of changeling. For them, it's regarded widely as being some kind of racial slur or what have you, because they go into this berserker rage. If they hear somebody say it, they'll freak out. And this actually goes back to some of the origins of the universe, so to speak, and the stories behind it, which a lot of them grew out of role-playing games. And one of those games, the majority of the players, their characters had been captured and they were being held in cage, and they had this jailer who was a changeling. And one of the characters, a couple of the players had problems with each other. And when one of the characters started being tortured by the jailer, the one that had a problem with him goes, "Oh, this is great. Can I have some popcorn?" And I immediately had the jailer go, "Popcorn! Did somebody have popcorn?" And go after him. And it's been part of Corrales ever since. But yeah, that's a little bit of that Douglas Adams influence in there. That, and something that could be very benign to us could be horrific to somebody else. I mean, you look at just what's gone on with our military in the Middle East, for example. When you hold up your hand like this, straight forward to them, palm outward, for us, that means stop. Over there, it means go. This has led to, at least to, a lot of miscommunication problems. And things like, simple words that in one race might be like, "Hey, how you doing?" And another race might be like, "I'm going," it might be the worst thing you could possibly say to them. Like insulting their entire genetic line or something along those lines. These are things that I think are fun to work into stories, kind of like with Douglas Adams and this small dog eating the entire invading fleet due to a scale problem. I think there are certain concepts that simply need to be played with a little bit. So there is a bit of play in there. It's not an incredibly linear story. And part of that is it was initially written as from a totally different character, different point of view, and then it was multi-point of view, and then it ended up slowly evolving into this as I basically decided that the real main character should be Kayla and her second self within her. She effectively has two souls within one body. There are two samples used in the cloning, and it had some weird things, and that's where that reference to the never put your AI in charge of a cloning facility, because the AI decided that it was going to do what it wanted to do, and it wasn't really listening at the time. It's a problematic facility, we'll just say. So she effectively ended up with the equivalent of two souls within her. And this is where we get into that Jungian aspect of it. You have the proverbial life half and the proverbial dark half, and each one is trying to come to terms with each other over the course of the story. And that particular arc concludes at the end of book 2. And now I'm in that mode that I'm going to prattle on forever about this. Good grief.
Well, I think
Hashtag writer problems.
If your stuff becomes famous after you're dead, this will be like the definitive hangout about it.
Yeah. Well,
what was he thinking when he did this?
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of what I did with it was very tongue in cheek. When I was initially working on the storyline, I was one of those kids that had all the thoughts and all the creativities that just didn't get along well with school, because they were kind of I want to say standout, but they're more the oddball out. So in order to entertain myself, I created initially a space combat game. I made markers, I made the rules, I made the whole system, yada yada yada. Then as I got older and I learned about actual proper pen and paper role-playing games, I turned it into one of those. And before you knew it, I was just writing stories based upon the role-playing game and associated universe that I'd created over the course of all those years. It just kind of arose organically.
Awesome.
But I also have this weird policy, which is that whatever happens in Corrales stays in Corrales. So there's a couple things that were introduced in the game that I'm like, if I was doing serious writing, I'd be worried about that.
Well, that's the end of my painting session
Cool.
today. I gotta make some dinner and get dressed for work.
And I should go do something more useful. But thanks for the moment to chill out, man. It was happy. It was nice to be with you.
No problem. Thanks for coming in. And well, Jordy didn't make it back.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to. Jordy is as Jordy does.